I will start out with the invocation. Our eternal God, our Father, we thank you so much for this day. We bless you and we praise you, Father, because we recognize that we wouldn't be at this meeting, at this place, if it had not been for you and your grace and your mercy. Father, we continue to lift the blanket of prayer over the city of Glen Arden, the mayor, the council persons, the citizens, the staff. We thank you, Father, for each person, Father, that has an involvement with the city. We ask you, Father, in Jesus' name, to come into this meeting on tonight. Give us wisdom, give us clarity, give us understanding as to what it is we have come together to do, which is the business of the city of Glen Arden. We thank you for your loving kindness and your tender mercies. We ask you to watch over the homeless, watch over the sick, and continue to bless this city. In Jesus' mighty name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Council Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Councilwoman Eason,
Present.
Councilman Herring,
Here.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
Here.
Councilman Williams,
Here.
Councilwoman Wilson, Councilwoman Ferguson,
Here.
Councilwoman Jones.
Here.
We have 6 in attendance.
Thank you, Council Clerk. Okay. And Councilwoman Wilson is now coming in.
All right.
Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All right, Council Clerk, would you take the roll for the adopting the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Eason,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilson,
I'm sorry, I'll pass for right now, please.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilwoman Wilson,
Yes.
we have 7 in agreement.
All right. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the review of the minutes being January 19th, 2021, a public hearing, January 27th, 2021, a special regular meeting, February 1st, 2021, a public hearing, February 3rd, 2021, a special work session, February 3rd, 2021, an executive session closed, February 8th, 2021, a regular meeting, February 9th, 2021, a special work session, February 9th, 2021, an executive session closed. Council members, you can review the minutes. And if there's any changes that you see, you can give those to the council clerk within the week. Okay, we'll move on to the next portion of the agenda, which will be the legislation. The first piece of legislation is is a charter resolution to amend Article 4, the mayor, Section 404, powers and duties generally. I have the council's pleasure. Councilwoman Eason.
Yeah, Mr. Williams, since you're the writer of this legislation, could you give a brief overview of what you're proposing in this legislation, please?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. This legislation will put the office of the mayor on equal ground with the council. As we speak right now, council member, the mayor, as a charter read right now, the mayor can't spend any money, period, without any approval of the council. This was put in the previous mayor for whatever reason, but it's not practical. If the mayor wants to spend money on a pen, he has to get approval. So what I did was just make it, when we want to spend money on our accounts up to a certain amount of money, we spend the money, and just make it practical that the mayor can spend money. I think the legislation up to $2,000 without the council's approval, like it used to be.
Okay, thank you. So it's $2,000, not $6,000.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the council? And I do have one question, Councilman Williams. Because the amount of that the city can spend has been changed to 6,000, you just want to leave the mayor's amount at 2,000?
Well, it could be 6,000, whatever is going, what is figured that to get the council, the majority of the council to support.
Okay, that was just inquiry. So, okay, we'll leave it there at 2,000. Are there any other questions from the council?
Council President?
Councilwoman Wilson?
Yes, Mr. Williams just said, he kind of said two things there. So he said, so that the mayor would be on equal footing with the council, which would be around $2,000. But now he's saying, or it could be 6,000. So which is he saying?
Jonathan, on the way to your house, won't tell district card since you have a meeting.
No, tell them to come on.
I'm sorry. Councilman Williams?
My legislation reads $2,000. If there is the will for council members to want to raise it to 6, then as in the charter, then I have no objections to it.
Then he's really not trying to get on equal footing with the council. Is that what he's saying?
Well, the council or the city itself can spend up to $6,000 at this point, but his legislation has 2. It's up to Mr. Williams whether he wants to leave it at 2 or 6. You want to leave it at 2, Mr. Williams?
Again, if there's support for 6, we can take it to 6. If there's not support for 6, leave it at 2.
Okay, so can we do a consensus?
Yeah.
Council President.
Councilwoman Smallwood? Councilwoman Smallwood? Okay, Council Clerk, let's do a consensus for the $2,000 or $6,000.
Okay,
Robin, you cut me off.
I didn't cut you, Ms. Smallwood, I didn't cut you off. I can't cut you off. You
Anyway,
muted yourself.
I didn't do anything. I was talking. Like I was saying, there's a charter change coming to the floor that will
give him the authorization to move from 2,000 to 6,000. So until after the charter change is made, I think we need to leave it at 2,000.
Okay, thank you. Council Clerk?
Would you like me to take the consensus?
Yes, please.
Yes. So the consensus for either 2,000 or 6,000. Councilwoman Eason? Councilwoman Eason?
2,000,
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
2,000.
Thank you. Councilman Herring?
I'm going to say 2,000 also, because those charter resolutions that were done weren't done correctly, and I'm going to actually reach out to the Attorney General's office about the legality of those charter resolutions, since they weren't followed, since we didn't follow state law properly in advertising them. So I say 2,000.
Thank you. Councilwoman Smallwood?
2,000.
Councilman Williams?
2,000.
Councilwoman Wilson?
And this is for the mayor. We're not talking about the city manager, correct? We're talking about for the mayor.
That is
Am I-
correct.
Okay, and I'm going to pass on that.
Councilwoman Ferguson?
2,000.
Councilwoman Jones?
2,000. Okay,
Councilwoman Wilson?
No, I'm still passed.
Okay. So we have 6 that have offered 2,000 and one no.
okay. All right. So now this charter resolution will come to the floor. The resolution number, Council Clerk Taylor?
The resolution number will be CR 05, 2021.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, the next resolution is Charter Resolution wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, Ordinance 05, 2021. This is an ordinance to amend the personnel manual. So I need a little clarity here, Councilwoman Smallwood. When we were doing the, going over the personnel manual, I thought that you wanted to, I don't want to say I don't want to say the incorrect word, but it made me believe that you didn't want to bring this forth. So this is going to be a first reading to a new ordinance you're bringing forth?
Yes, it is, because we are adopting policies for telework, family medical leave, bullying, and liberal leave policies. So to incorporate all the new changes and to add the new updates, I scrapped it from just adopting the bully to include all the other ones.
Okay, thank you. So
This will be a first read.
this will be a first reading.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so that'll come as a first reading. All right, the next legislation on the agenda is a resolution to authorize the purchase of a walk-behind power mower for the Public Works Department. Any questions? Any concerns?
I got a question, Council President. Who is sponsoring this?
I'll sponsor it. Councilwoman Eason?
Yeah, yes, Mr. This is probably a question for Mr. George under administration. For all of these items that are going to be purchased, will an inventory be done for these items, as well as a maintenance schedule?
Yes, ma'am. In fact, I've been working with Public Works to put up a tool crib so we're gonna start inventorying all of the equipment, all the small equipment and large equipment. And these have good warranties that we purchase with them, but we will have a maintenance schedule for this and for all of our equipment going forward.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I'm sorry, Mr. George, I have a question also. The question being, for these, each of these items, will there be educational concerns be made as far as training? Will they be trained on how to operate the machinery and take care of the machinery?
Yes, we will definitely work on that. I'm not sure if Mr. Taylor has already brought that up with the contractor, but that's certainly something we want to do to make sure that everyone knows how to use them and how to maintain them properly.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions concerning this? Councilman Herring?
Yes, I just want to ask Mr. George, could you be sure that for next month that we get a surplus list of items that need to be disposed of so we can get that stuff out of there? It seems like we continually buy new equipment, but we don't surplus the old equipment so we can get it out of the shop. So I'm asking that we have a surplus list next month for all items that need to be disposed of down there so we can get them out of there.
Yes, sir. In fact, I was down in Public Works on Thursday working with Mr. Taylor and asking him to do just that. We have a lot of weed whackers that are not functioning but could be surplused. We have a few chainsaws that we need to have repaired, a few other chainsaws that are not serviceable, and he's going to create a list for me of all the equipment that's working and not working so that we can get the stuff that doesn't work out on Gov Deals and try to sell it and get a little bit of money back, and the equipment that is working, we'll have it serviced properly so that we can get back in the field.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the council concerning this resolution? All right, Council Clerk, would you have resolution number for this resolution?
Resolution R37, 2021.
All right, that'll come to the floor. I guess, can we do the next three? Or is there any other questions that the council may have on the next two resolutions? One being the authorization of another ride-on power mower. And then the last one will be the purchase of a ride-on power mower for, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the first one was the purchase of a walk-behind power mower. And then these next two are for the ride-on power mowers. Does any council have any other questions concerning those? Okay. Council Clerk, for the resolution, the next resolution for the ride-on power motor, the resolution number.
R38, 2021.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Council President, are you sponsoring these last two pieces of legislation?
Yes, I will. Okay. And the last one being resolution number, Council Clerk.
Resolution R39, 2021.
All right, 37, 38, and 39. And all three of those will come to the floor. Okay. The next resolution on the legislative agenda is a resolution to remove Councilwoman Robin Jones as council president. And I will start out with, someone needs to mute themselves. Let's see. Okay. With that resolution, after reviewing this resolution to have me removed as council president, there were several things that I wanted to bring out concerning this resolution. Number one, there was a question in February 2020 to our attorney concerning removing the council president. The attorney sent back his opinion and told us the different things that if this was something that was going to be done. That letter was dated February 5th, 2020, 2:46 p.m. The council rules would have to be changed to do this, and also or the city charter. And if we decide to remove or replace an officer of the council, well, he referenced the letter in the February 2020 letter to a letter he sent on January 24th, 2020, removing and replacing an officer of the council and or disciplining a council member, which he also, his opinion was that since the charter is silent on that and the council rules are silent, we would have to change one or the other. And also in doing this, we would probably have to follow Robert's rules, which indicates that therefore, in order to remove, replace, or otherwise discipline the council president under Robert's Rules of Orders, 3 steps are required. An investigation committee must be appointed. It must find a basis and then provide notice of a formal trial. I'm sorry. It must find a basis for and then provide notice of the charges, and then a formal trial hearing must be held. So as far as this resolution goes, like I said, since the council rules and the charter are silent on those are some of the things that would have to come forth. Number 2, whereas the council president says consistently violated the council rules by refusing to adhere to the rules governing motions and not calling for a vote. And I think what Councilman Herring was referring to is that I did not call for a vote concerning the mayor's veto on the budget. That agenda was already accepted after receiving a February 8th opinion from the attorney. Of course, I can see where I was probably not right in allowing the motion to go forth. He would have needed 5 votes for that motion to go forth. But the thing that I don't understand about the motion to override the mayor's veto on the budget was that budget was so, it didn't have all of the things necessary for the city to move forward, especially the election committee. Nothing was in the budget to have that done because due to the election coming up. So I had an issue with that. Then the next thing where it says, whereas Council President Jones violates the Open Meetings Act by refusing to allow citizens into the virtual meeting and keeps them sitting in the Zoom waiting room. It says see attached, but I don't see anything attached. But there was only one letter that I received, and that was on December the 23rd, 2020, from the former city manager, Ken Jones, saying that he was not allowed into the meeting. I, of course, sent that email to the attorney. The attorney sent him a letter telling him, letting him know that it might have been a technical issue, but he agreed with me as we went over the meeting and saw that I let everybody in at a reasonable time. I had nobody waiting in the waiting room, and that's been since we've used the Zoom platform, that has been my response. And he also told Mr. Jones, he said, given the adversarial nature that currently exists between you and the city of Glen Arden, I do not believe it is appropriate that you should be contacting elected officials and employees regarding matters related to city business. And he said he would appreciate his cooperation in this, and that if he had any issues that he needed to discuss, that he should give him a call. And that's the only email that I got concerning not letting someone into the, someone not being able to get into the Zoom platform. The second thing on this resolution says, whereas Council President Jones has consistently withheld public information from citizens of Glen Arden during a national pandemic by refusing to show city meetings on cable television station. The cable television station is in great need of an overhaul. I believe some of the equipment that I've seen in the cable television station was probably there when my father, who has been deceased for 20 years, used to come up here and volunteer to work in the cable television station. And we as his children used to tag along behind him. The television station is, like I said, in great need of overhaul. We need to bring the technology that we have needs to come up to the 21st century where we are now with television. Analog has gone out. We're now using digital. Some things need to be changed. And the cable, as far as I'm concerned, the changing technology has been the cause of why our cable television station is not online at this point. But we are, from what I understand from the city manager, we are in process of working on that. The next item on this resolution, it says, whereas the city of Glen Arden's 2021 budget does not allow the purchase. Oh, I'm sorry, I went one down too far. Whereas in 2021, Council President Robin Jones signed a purchase order and a check in the amount of $98 for the illegal purchase of a paper shredder for Councilman Don Juan Williams for his personal use in his home. When I came on board, I'll take this one and the one concerning the Mayor Estes was using Shipley and Horn to do annexation to the city of Glen Arden. Annexation, which would give the city better financial base. So he was using Shipley and Horn. But when I came on with this $98 purchase and the Shipley and Horn checks, in the transition, I fulfilled the financial obligations created by the acts left to me that were authorized, as far as I'm concerned, because they were known by the former council president. Regrettably, these things were done without due process. But in order to have our bills paid, I went ahead and paid those items. Now, if Mr. Williams got a shredder, I think it's the responsibility of the Treasurer's office to get the serial number, the model number, and put it on our, the city of Glen Arden has a fixed asset inventory list. It may be, I think this is as of May 31st, 2019. The city treasurer should have gotten that information and placed it on that list for that shredder that Mr. Williams has, just like with any other equipment that council members have had or do have now, or any equipment. Like I'm looking at this list and it has stuff on there that's throughout the city, in the administration office, in the legislative office, in the finance office, in public works. And just as the councilman asked the city manager to make sure that we go through the things in public works to have them surplus, and that we have an adequate list of what we do and do not have. So that's my take on that one. The next issue on here is that in August 2020, Council President Robin Jones illegally purchased herself a Lenovo ThinkPad E95 in the amount of $1,069. I don't think that I illegally purchased the item. I believe that because this is something that's always been, when I became council president, I decided I needed to have to be able to get on the Zoom platform, and also to have access at home, because being council president, in my opinion, I don't know the opinions of other council presidents, but it is a 24/7, 365 job. It really is. There's something going on all the time that requires your attention. And I did not have a laptop. I wanted a laptop, and then in case something happened, I wanted the laptop to be, if for some reason I was going to be locked up, I wanted them to be able to take the laptop and go and buy. It's yours. It belongs to the city. If you need it, if the any governmental officials that was investigating me wanted the laptop, they could have it, and then my personal server would not be affected. So yes, I did purchase a laptop. He's saying that I purchased it illegally because there was no line item in the budget for this laptop, but I used in the, for this laptop, I used the line item, which was for computer maintenance. And maybe I shouldn't have used that line item, but when, in speaking with the treasurer, he suggested, you know, that that was something that I could use. And where is that? Oh, here it is. He was, that was suggested there was something I could use. Even the PO, he said the funds were available. I told him, well, there's only $1,000 in that line, so the other $69 would have to come from somewhere. So he changed the charge coding from 8630, which was that line item, to 8360. Now, this is not something that's, this is something that's done, you know, when they move money around in the budget. And we just found out recently that the only person that could really move money around in the budget is the city manager. And I have documentation of that. In fact, section 808 of the charter will tell you that the city manager is the only person that can move money around. So, but the treasurer moved money around for me to get this laptop. So I don't understand what the issue is when, you know, I'm looking at some documents, budget request for budget revisions. And this was done on August the 23rd, 2019. The legislative office, the department head was James Herring. He transferred $1,300. He transferred $1,300 from C. Smallwood to pay for Glen Arden Day Band. And the transfer line from 7650 to 8647. And then there's one here, another one, which doesn't have a date on it, but it transferred money, James Herring again, $1,000 from James Herring for Glen Arden Day event. That money went from 7650 to 8647. So I don't understand why I hadn't, the laptop, which like I said again, the serial number, the mouse, you know, all of the issues that anything that belongs to the city of Glen Arden, Mr. Bratton was well aware of, because he has, not only does he have the receipts, I have the receipts, Xerox all the receipts for what I've done. And I don't understand, you know, where I must have to be beheaded for something that's been done in the city for a while. Other than that, like I said, the things that dealt with Mayor Estes signing a contract with the law firm Shipley and Horn, I signed those checks because of the fact those were outstanding checks. The services had been rendered to a vendor, and I don't believe in, regardless of, I'm not saying that what was done was right. There was no, like I said, the due process in some of those things was not done. Regrettably, they weren't done correctly, but they were done. And we are more aware and more cognizant of what we do as far as council president. Are there any other council members that have, well, before I say that, I'm just saying this. I don't want to see this come to the floor because it's just baseless and the allegations are unfounded. So that's my answer to this legislation. Are there any other council members that want to weigh in on this legislation?
Yes, Madam President, I would respond to what you said in my legislation.
Councilman Herring?
Yes. First item, where you said that, where I said, you know, you refused to acknowledge a motion that was on the floor. You said you didn't feel that that's something that we should have voted on because the budget was not in right or disarray or whatever. That's not your decision to make. That's the decision of the council. That's why the motion comes on the floor. You took it upon yourself to overstep your authority as a council president. When I made that motion and I had a second, you were required to call for a vote, and you chose not to call for that vote. and because you felt it shouldn't come to the floor. That's not the way government works. This is a democratic body, as you said. That's the first thing. Second thing is Section 809E of the charter clearly states that any person, any officer, employee officer who violates the purchasing process of the city of Glen Arden shall be removed from office. You are an officer of the city of Glen Arden as the council president. So the charter does address illegal purchases. When y'all tried to bring it up on me, you had no charges against me. You had a bunch of, and I told you, you bring whatever you want to bring, but make sure you have proof to do it. You chose not to do it. You could have went through the same process, but you had nothing because there was nothing. As I said, the charter does specifically speak to removing an officer from their position if they illegally violate the purchasing policy of the Section 800 of the charter. As for the cable station has been updated with all new equipment for digital service. I don't know why you keep on putting out that misinformation that equipment is old and everything else is old. Yeah, the equipment in the old part of the studio, which we don't even use, all that stuff needs to be surplus. But we bought all HD equipment, everything is HD. That's the only way we're getting signals out now, because the signals that come out now to the citizens is digital. So all the equipment was upgraded to handle those signals. So I don't know what you're talking about. This equipment is that old and all this other stuff. And that's for the messages not playing on cable is because the PowerPoint presentation kept on going to sleep. And it would just sit there and nobody was checking it. So it was just sitting there and nothing was being done. Now they're adding to it. Now they got it rolling. So, and you are the one who took it upon yourself to illegally discontinue a contract of the cable studio provider, the cable studio contractor. This contract did not end until February of this year of 2021. You said it was over. You wasn't signing any checks for anybody. You took it upon yourself to do that. As for that shredder, again, you bought that shredder from Mr. Williams. The check was cut to Mr. Williams. The shredder is at his house. As you said, all the equipment that we buy for the city is up in City Hall. That equipment is in City Hall, and it has serial numbers and is in log. That he should not have bought a shredder. We don't buy shredders for people's houses. We don't use city money for people's personal use. So you can gloss over that all you want to, but you did do that. And the attachments are attached to see that you signed a check that's personally made out to him, and that shredder is at his house, and that's what he's using it for, his personal use, because every piece of paper in the city of Glen Arden is public record. Nothing needs to be shredded unless it's personnel information. He can bring anything he got that he needs shredded. He can bring it, throw it right up there in that recycling bin. It's right there in the council's office and get it shredded there. There's no reason to have a shredder at your house. Nobody else has a shredder at their house. And if he wanted a shredder, he should have spent the $98 and bought himself a shredder for his house. And the budget doesn't allow for the purchase of equipment for council members' personal use. And the budget shows that. As for your computer, there is no line item in there for the purchase of computers. That line item was taken out because we did not budget for computer purchases because everybody had a computer. And if you wanted a computer, you should have asked that the budget be amended, and we could have added a line for computers. State law says that you can only purchase what is in your budget. There's no line item in there for computer purchases. Computer maintenance and computer maintenance is completely different than computer purchases. You know, and you didn't even address the Surface Pro 10 that you purchased from Mr. Williams. You purchased that from T-Spec.
Really?
You know, so you purchased him a computer. Then when I asked about it at a public meeting, you asked me, how do I know he got that? How do I know about that? So you were trying to hide it because you questioned me on how did I find out about it? So that's something else you were trying to not actually ask you. So what you doing? Secret spending? So now you know that you were caught. I guess you must have send it back or something? You must have sent it back, but you purchased it because it came in and then you sent it back. So you did purchase it. And there's nothing, again, in our budget for computers. State law, once again, Maryland state law requires you can only purchase what's in your budget. And that was not budgeted in our budget. No computers were budgeted in the budget. If you wanted any of this stuff, you could have went through the proper channels and the proper means. As for the mayor, you signing those checks for the mayor, I clearly stated that I wasn't signing those checks for the mayor because he could not sign a contract. And you chose to, as soon as you got in office, Instead of coming to me as the former council president and saying, Councilman Herring, why didn't you sign those checks? You chose to sign them anyway because you were going to do the bidding of the mayor, because that's what you do. You're not an independent thinker. You do the bidding of the mayor. You do what he tells you to do, right or wrong, and that's why you're sitting in the position you're sitting in now. Shipping and Horn checks, those checks were completely fraudulently done, because he should not have signed that contract. To scratch out the city manager's name, and then write in your name, and then sign a contract without council approval, and you want to sit there and say, yeah, it wasn't done right, but I'm going to sign the checks anyway. He did the exact same thing when he first came on board, and we got an attorney involved and told the person we weren't going to honor that contract because he didn't have the authority to sign it. So, I mean, I'm not sure why you're sitting here saying that this stuff is made up. This stuff isn't made up. I got back at the show that what you did was not right, especially the purchasing of this equipment and the purchasing of the shredder for Mr. Williams. And like I said, and you were the one who took down the cable station because we had no more new information coming up because you refused to sign any checks for the cable studio vendor, and he wasn't coming in here to update that station at all. So during a pandemic, when we needed to get information out there, food drives, food giveaway, grab and goes, we couldn't put any of that up there. I mean, Ms. Smallwood somebody reached out to Ms. Smallwood. They were giving away coats. We couldn't put that up there because we had nobody to operate it. We had other people come in to give us information about grab and goes, so people can get food out there. We couldn't put that information up because we didn't have a cable vendor. So yeah, you did all of this stuff, and it is valid. Everything in here is valid, and the reasoning for it, and the charter does address removing an officer from their position if they violate the purchasing order, the purchasing code, which is in section 809E. So, and that's what people sitting in the way. A number of people have contacted me and said they have been sitting in that waiting room for like 20 minutes, so they just get off because you're not letting them in. So, yeah, you may got something from Ms. Jones, but I got something from other citizens who have contacted me personally and contacted other council members personally and said they could not get in because they've been waiting in the waiting room. Like I said, and again, presiding over the meetings in a fair and equitable manner. Every time you hear a noise, just like tonight, every time you hear a noise, you either mute me, Ms. Smallwood, or Ms. Wilson. You just muted me, and my phone is on mute, so I know it wasn't me. But you heard a noise, you hit mute. You know, and that's what you continue to do, putting me in the waiting room. You can't put me in the waiting room as an elected official. You know, so yeah, everything in here is valid. As for, and if you thought that the mayor, what he did was wrong, you should have voted to censure him when the legislation came up. Obviously, you voted no on that. You didn't even abstain. You voted no because you supported him. You support what he does. You support the wrongdoing that he does. That's just your nature. You and along with a couple of these other citizens out here, that's what you do. You know, so everything on here is valid. I got backup for everything that you've done. You've signed off on checks. You know, that you should not have signed off on. You purchased this product out there. And as a matter of fact, I had to actually, and I should have attached them to this. I had the last budgets for the last couple of years when we did buy computers. We have a specific line for computer purchase. And that line is not in this budget. So under Maryland state law, you can only purchase what's in your budget. If you choose not to do that, then that's a violation of your charter. That's a violation of actually Maryland state law, unless you amend this budget.
So, Mr. Councilman Herring, may I ask you a question? Councilman Herring, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay, so if I'm in violation, so that means that the persons that signed the PO, the treasurer, the city manager at that time, because they moved what I was asking for out of the computer system maintenance line, and they moved it to the office supply line, which had, $16,000 in it. So, I mean, so should all of those persons also be removed from their office?
Along with the mayor who signed the check.
Okay.
So, and oh yeah, let me address another thing. You brought up, see, this is what gets me with you. You don't tell the whole truth. You brought up where we transfer money from one line to another for Glen Arden Day, but you're not saying that those were signed off on by the city manager.
But what I purchased was signed off by the city manager also.
No, my transfers were done by the city manager. Your transfer was not done by the city manager. Transferring money from one line, you can transfer money from one budgeted line item to another budgeted line item. there was no budgeted line item for computers.
But there's no signature on here saying that the city manager approved these.
There's no budget line item for computers.
But there's a budget line item for office supplies. All right, thank you, Mr. Herring.
A computer is not office supplies, Ms. Jones.
Well,
You know that, and I know that.
The treasurer just used that line item.
Well, I don't care what the treasurer disputes. I don't care what the treasurer. That's beside the point. The point is that the line clearly says what office supplies are. Our budget. That's one thing about our budget. It's very detailed, and it shows you what you can buy in that line item.
All right, Mr. Herring. Thank you. Any other council members have any comments towards this resolution?
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
All right. I'm praying that I don't go ballistic, but I keep hearing illegal personal use. The shredder that was bought, I purchased the shredder. I purchased it out of my money in the middle of a pandemic when we wasn't coming up to the city hall because everybody was doing things from home. I used my discretionary account for the $98. It was my discretionary. Keyword discretionary. All right. Every council member have a discretionary account to use the money. I don't question what any other council person use their discretionary account for. I could. I don't worry. I stay in my lane. This is used for city business. It will go back to the city. I have my own personal shredder. Okay. It's not built like this one to have multiple things with shredding up our city documents. Okay. So when a council member always keeps throwing out somebody done something illegal, but he never does it, but he's the only one who is sanctimonious, signing checks or whatever. The same council member who shut down meetings because he didn't want to be removed as council president. He just shut down the meeting. Robert Rules of Order. We didn't have it in there, but we had Robert Rules of Order. The same council member that called a meeting to keep the city manager and call the council clerk to tell her when I'm leaving out of town so he can have a meeting when I'm gone so he can save the city manager. The same council member who signed a $90,000 check to pay a vendor, just like Ms. Jones did, $90,000 check to pay a vendor that wasn't approved by the council, wasn't budgeted in that fiscal year, but he sat there and signed the check sanctimoniously because he felt it should be paid. Now, in this grade, I agree it should be paid because we owe the money. But yet, you make an issue when you do something, somebody else do something. The bottom line, leaders have discretion to some degree. However, when one's not a leader anymore, you sit here and try to support the leader as best you can. All right, whether it's the mayor, council president, what have you. We can't get anywhere in this city because people don't want to do business because we always throwing pot shots at each other instead of trying to work together. I've been refrained of saying this, but this is a work session. So I'm trying to work it out. I'm praying because I do pray. I'm a praying man. And I'm praying, I don't hold any malice or disdain for anyone on this board. I'm willing to work with anybody on this board. Okay. But it's about building coalitions and getting things done, not taking away things. And certain people just always want to take away things. Everything I do is to enable things to happen, not take away. Since I've been on this board, we done taken away right to vote for kids, right to park in front of people's houses. It's been thrown out of the courts won't even enforce. Taken away, instead of enabling, helping. We got our legislators don't even want to work with us. They laugh at us as a body because we can't work together as a city. I talked to Ms. Sims is on the line right now. our lobbyists. When the last time I talked to our lobbyist, Mr. Proctor, about the status of annexation, it's a challenge because the county is not supporting us because we're not supporting ourselves. We got to get ourselves together, they say. So we're not helping ourselves or our city by backbiting and pointing fingers and fighting amongst ourselves. We got enough of that in other cities. We're the highest median income in this country for African-American city. And we can't get certain things done because we can't work together. So when I spend money out of my pocket, because that's what it was, I use my discretionary funds to pay for that. Now, I want you to sit here and tell me that I can't use discretionary fund to buy city property if I want to buy city property out of my discretionary fund, period. Not my personal property, it's city property. We all have $500 to do what we think is best for the city or for yourself at the time, whether we give flowers to somebody or buy a plaque or whatever. We don't get in the habit of questioning your judgment, how you spend your discretionary funds, as long as you're not taking it for yourself. Madam President, I'm done, and this bring it to the floor. Let's vote it up or down. Can we move on? If anybody else has anything else to say.
Yes, I do have something.
Just a moment, Mr. Councilman Herring. Thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilman Herring. And we're not going to use this as a platform to go back and forth at pointing fingers.
Just like he just went back on the $90,000, because I do want to address that, because y'all keep on throwing out erroneous information out there. Now, and I'm going to have to show now, put it out there again, email after email that where we had conversations with our attorney, and we had meetings on this $90,000, and the attorney said quite clearly, the money was already encumbered in the previous years. We owe $45,000 to the vendor from 2 previous years. That money was not spent. If you even look at the budget, you would see that it's coming up $45,000 under budget for those 2 years. That was the $90,000. So that was already approved. Because it was already encumbered and we owed it to them, you didn't need a council, you didn't need a resolution. And the attorney was quite clear on that. And I'll show you the emails if you want to see them, where he says that the money is owed to them. It was encumbered. It was budgeted for. They keep on saying it was not budgeted for. It was budgeted for. You can see in the budget, in the financial reports, for those 2 years where we spent only $330,000, and it should have been $390,000 or $395,000. But we came in under budget because we paid less than what we actually should have. So that $90,000 mess that they keep on throwing out there is erroneous and is bogus and everything else. But let me read something so we can be quite clear on discretionary money. Okay, chapter 20-9 of our charter on discretionary funds, it says approve expenditures for discretionary funds. It says, let's see here, let me get it right here. Discretionary funds, approve expenditures. In the event of a death of an elected official, former official, current or former city committee member or advisory committee member, employee, or his or her immediate family member, an elected official of a neighboring or an elected official, immediate family or an elected official of a neighboring municipality, the mayor or council may choose to purchase flowers, cards, or other bereavement items. B, travel to and from a meeting with municipal, county, state, and federal officials and other city businesses. C, to support events and activities that promote Glen Arden as an emerging city for families and businesses. And D, to support educational opportunities or initiatives for the residents. Nowhere in there does it say you can use your discretionary money for whatever you want to use it for or equipment. So the charter is quite clear on what you can use that money for. And as a former mayor, I think
that's not a charter.
Point of order, Mr. Williams.
That is not a charter.
Mr. Williams, point of order.
Yeah, I thought you weren't going to blow up. So
Point of order. Point of order, Mr. Herring.
I had the floor. You need to point of order him. I had the floor. I'm not even finished what I was saying.
But you're antagonizing Mr. Williams, and the council rules clearly states that you. Councilman
the
Herring, we're
code-
not going to do this tonight.
Okay, then you need to be, like I said, you need to be equitable and fair when you come to your running these meetings, because I had the floor. Now, I
Are
want to
you
continue
through?
on what I was. No, I'm not through. So it's in the code. It's in the code. If the law says that quite clearly, with 20-9, it's in the code, and it says what you can and cannot spend that discretionary money for. And we put that in there specifically because we didn't want people using it for what they should not have been using it for. So yes, it does spell out exactly in the code what you can and cannot use that discretionary money for. And that's
Thank
for the
you.
$90,000 that was completely appropriate and legal based on the city attorney's opinion. That, since y'all just read an opinion, so y'all want to pick and choose what opinions you want to read. Based on the city attorney's opinion, that money was already encumbered. That money was owed to Good Trash. And so, yes, I could have signed, I could sign that check. And
Okay,
that's
Mr. Herring, I'd like to have because would you send me that email from the attorney with that opinion? And also, there is a resolution, I didn't bring it with me, that was written by Margaret Day concerning discretionary funds. So I would want to go review that also before I fall, into, I mean, I understand what the charter is saying, but I want to see if anything in that charter was revised with that resolution.
That's not
We
a
don't
charter.
revise the
It's not a
resolution.
charter. He keeps saying it's charter. It's not in the charter.
Well, it's in the code, it's the law. So I know
See
you
how
don't
he
like to
lied,
follow him,
Mr.
but he
Jones, he telling
Point of
citizens
order,
that
Mr.
things in the
Herring.
charter. He lied again and says in the charter. It was
in the code. It's
I know
city
it's a
code.
resolution, but I haven't seen a code. So,
No, this
all
is the
right.
code 20-9 of the code.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Is there any other council members that want to weigh in on this resolution? Hearing none, we'll move to the next resolution. Oh, the next resolution is I'm sorry, Council Clerk. I guess we'll let this come to the floor. If the resolution number for the previous resolution to remove Councilwoman, the council president as Councilwoman Jones as a council president.
Ma'am, resolution number R40, 2021.
Thank you. Next piece of legislation. Oh, no, that legislation is for a public hearing in April, and that's a charter resolution to amend Finance Section 818 contract procedure. Now, Councilwoman Smallwood is presenting this resolution. Can I ask you a question, Councilwoman Smallwood, pertaining to this resolution? Councilwoman Smallwood.
Yes.
Pertaining to this resolution is to, like the attorney sent his opinion and said that as far as he was concerned, this resolution is already in effect because it passed the 50-day mark, and it did, the only thing that could be questioned if it went to circuit court is that it would, for the 21 days, somebody could challenge that. So you're presenting this resolution to clean up that 21-day mark?
I'm bringing this resolution to clean up the 21, yes, to clean up the 21 days.
All right, thank you. All right,
Madam
the next,
President, I have a question for Ms. Smallwood on this, since we asked some questions on this.
Councilman Herring.
Yes, Councilwoman Smallwood, let me ask a question. Now, I read the attorney's opinion also. Didn't he say that if any of these were taken to court, then more than likely the person would prevail in having them overturned?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
That's another reason why I'm bringing it to the floor.
Yeah, that's what I said, that the opinion of the attorney says if it went to circuit court, it could be overturned because of the 21-day mark. Thank you. The next item on the agenda will be the mayor's report. Mayor Estes. Mayor Estes. You're muted.
Yes, ma'am. I
There you
stepped
go.
away to the restroom.
All right, it's time for your report, sir.
Oh, okay. Great. Let me see if I can share my screen. Oh, I'm disabled. I was just gonna post the show my screen. You can't allow that. I'll just read it.
Yeah, because we normally have issues when it's shared screen
Okay.
with pornography and other things.
Well, I did actually put the chat in the chat room. I did allow the citizens to be able to download it from the chat room.
Okay. I see that.
Right. So I'm trying to find the actual document. Okay. So I'll go ahead and just read it then. This is the mayor's report for the month of March 2021. And this is the Maryland State Legislature edition. The legislature is in session, so a large portion of this report, it reflects some of the things that they're doing for our community as well as the county, the legislators. So first of all, my first part of my report is the Executive Office of the Mayor's key accomplishments from the last period, which was the month of February and January. Recently we had Education Choice Week, and the mayor's office created 3 proclamations where I honored 3 of our public schools within our city boundary by giving them a proclamation from the city celebrating quality education opportunities during Schools Choice Week, which is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. I recognize January 24th through the 30th of 2021 as Glen Arden School Choice Week. The local schools honored were Ardmore Elementary School, Judge Sylvania Woods Elementary School, and Glen Arden Woods Elementary School. During this past month, the administration legislation, we had a couple of things to take place. The past couple of months have brought forth several legislative approvals that will have a long-term influence in the coming years. Here are a few of the administration co-sponsored resolutions that will help advance the administration of Glen Arden. One was a resolution was passed that authorized the mayor to appoint our new city manager, Mr. Timothy George, as our new city manager. The second thing is that we have attempted to repeal an ordinance to increase the mayor's salary, which I vetoed back a few months ago. So there was an attempt to repeal the increase in the mayor's salary. However, the council supported the veto, and the mayor's salary will be increased for the next mayor. Special note on the budget, an emergency ordinance to amend the City of Glen Arden's budget did take place for the February 2021 budget, and it was passed by the council within short-term effort to get it done. So we're going to move into the District 24 legislation, and we have 3 delegates that are representing our district, which we are in District 24. And Delegate Eric Barron is addressing public health inequality as highlighted by the pandemic as his top priority. Those impacts have been disparately felt by communities across the state, and we must actively support those who have felt the greatest burden. That is why Delegate Barron introduced the Health Equity Resource Communities Act, which is House Bill 463, which would drive state funding and resources towards communities suffering the most healthcare disparities. And we had a powerful hearing on this bill this past week, which was about a couple of weeks ago, is still in chambers to be hopefully passed, but he's still working on that House bill. That was House Bill 463, if you look it up. Also, enhancing public trust, transparency, and accountability in our government is a must. So that's why Delegate Barron is sponsoring 2 bills that would establish offices of the Inspector General for Health and for the General Services to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in healthcare administration and funding and in statewide procurement, which disproportionately hurts communities of color. Delegate Barron's also introduced legislation to enhance oversight in our state prisons with corrections ombudsman. Excuse me, I always pronounce that wrong. Ombudsman, excuse me. So that is an important bill as well that he's pushing forward and trying to erase the fraud that takes place in the healthcare administration of our government. The General Assembly leadership efforts also include unemployment insurance, and the House and Senate leadership announced their unemployment insurance reform package to immediately fix the broken unemployment insurance system. Over the last 10 months, thousands of Marylanders experienced issues with claims and were unable to get their insurance questions answered. So currently, there are still nearly 4,000 Marylanders who have unresolved UI claim issues. Maryland's unemployment system was unprepared for a statewide emergency and needs to be reformed. The unemployment reform package makes short-term and structural changes to fix Maryland's broken UI system, including modernizing the UI system to ensure that Marylanders can get their money they deserve, improving customer service, which is definitely critical, creating more accountability, and planning for the next emergency. So that's what Delegate Barron has been really working hard on, those 3 different bills, and I definitely support him on all 3. It definitely impacts our community as well as a city in a heavily minority community. Delegate Jazz Lewis, however, is taking a different twist in his legislation. He is, of course, in District 24, and he's proud to introduce House Bill 32 to not only legalize cannabis, but to finally bring to a close the disastrous war on drugs. This bill will allow for a brand new equitable recreational industry and provide expungement for those in the justice system. House Bill 32 would not only legalize 4 ounces of possession for those 21 and over, it would also expunge past cannabis-related convictions. A past judiciary hearing debated cannabis legalization and how the state could benefit from the regulated sales of marijuana. Rights pass wrongs and create a more inclusive economy, says Ben Jealous with Progressive Maryland, the former candidate for the governor. Any legislation bill is meaningless if it does not address record expungement, said Delegate Jazz Lewis of our District 24. The bill sponsored Delegate Jazz Lewis proposed expungement and release for possession and cultivation of legal amounts and a market promoting social equity in communities hardest hit by its criminalization. To ensure business ownership and participation in the legal industry by communities who have disproportionately impacted by prohibition, said Olivia Nigel, who is with the Marijuana Policy Project. So that was definitely what I'm trying to summarize here with Delegate Lewis, so you won't get the wrong impression. is that legalization of marijuana for recreational use is something that's taking place all over the country and being considered because the community, the Black African-American community and other colors, people of color who illegally use marijuana and cannabis, and those who do use it legally, find it very difficult, in that there's a lot of laws that prohibit the preventing people who are arrested for these drugs to expunge their records, knowing that this is a drug that should be regulated by the states and is currently being regulated. So Delegate Andrea Fletcher Harrison has been actively doing some things that are quite different from both of our delegates, but she's doing something interesting with House Bill 1124, which is for the purpose of requiring the Office of Student Finance Assistance with the Maryland Higher Education Commission to award at least a certain percentage of annual grant money from the Richard W. Collins III Leadership with honor scholarships to students at Bowie State University. And generally relating to the Richard Collins III Leadership with honor scholarship, the office shall, one, award at least 25% of its total annual grant money to students at Bowie State University, and two, award 75, I'm sorry, let me get that correct. Award at least 25% of its total annual grant money to students at Bowie University, but also two, award 75% of the remaining amount of its total annual grant money to students at historically Black colleges and universities other than Bowie State University. So that's something that's not written right now in the scholarship that she's asking that they make more clear through the House bill. Another outstanding legislation that Delegate Harris is sponsoring is House Bill 488 for the purpose of designating a certain day for Juneteenth, National Freedom Day, as a state legal holiday and state employee holiday. Repealing the requirement that the governor declare a certain day as Juneteenth National Freedom Day, and generally relating to Juneteenth National Freedom Day. So basically, what she's trying to do is make Juneteenth a legal holiday in the state of Maryland, and eventually, hopefully, get it to spread to a national level. So by introducing it in one state, it gives it legs to stand on to become a national holiday. So stay tuned for that. That might be real interesting to hear coming out of our own backyard. So Senator Benson, she's been real busy too. She is also the senator for our district, and she's working on state bill. She's got a whole bunch of bills that she's working on, but one important bill that impacts Glen Arden is State Bill 843, where the bill basically prohibits the Board of Public Works from approving a public-private partnership agreement for the I-495 and I-270 public-private partnership program unless the agreement includes at least 10% of the total revenue remaining after construction costs be deposited in a special fund to be used only for transit projects in accordance with certain memoranda, authorizing the public-private partnership agreement to require a bidder to agree to initiate a community benefit agreement, etc. That bill could directly benefit the city of Glen Arden as the construction plans are finalized along the 495 corridor that will be passing through Glen Arden. Most of the bills directly impacting our 24th district are past the first, well, excuse me, most of the bills that I've talked about are that are impacting our district have passed the first reading and referred to the committees. So House Bill 393 and State Bill 12 have the most teeth and are passed in both chambers. So that's the bill that Senator Benson has been pushing forward. And that one has advanced rapidly through the House Senate and also the House of Representatives. So, I mean, of delegates. So, you know, that's really moving fast with her getting involved in it. So the next subject regarding some of the things that we've been doing, I've been working on the Glen Arden annexation plan. And as our esteemed council member mentioned, that we have hit some hurdles, and barriers in working with the annexation plan. And it's just been really tough in getting a lot of the business developers to really pay attention to the city of Glen Arden. So we've met through Zoom meetings due to the pandemic throughout the course of the effort to do the annexation plan. And we've discussed up to phase 2 assignments to evaluate the land ownership obstacles and solutions to overcome misinformation of what the annexation is, and the many benefits for future businesses and residents. We will meet again early this month and prepare a monthly report for the city council. That is Shipley and Horn and myself. We did have our legislative consultants involved at one time, but I'm going to be honest with the council members, but we were told, the team that was working on the annexation plan, that they were instructed not to work with us. And the question was put to them, well, who authorized you to not work with the mayor's office? And they basically said that the council was represented by 2 people, particularly one person who told them that they were prohibited from working with the mayor on the annexation plan. So that caused a problem in itself as well. That person knows who they are, but I'm not going to bring their name up tonight. But most people in this room know who it is. The city website update has been moving on a rapid pace since the pandemic. And the committee met on February 11th to review the city site map to reflect the changes the website committee discussed. The site map was uploaded to the revised portal for the revised project leads review. The next step is that the revised will schedule a meeting with Councilwoman Eason to discuss the site map and answer any questions from the committee members. Councilwoman Eason will provide additional updated information from the committee in whatever report she chooses to provide regarding the web site project. So we also have created the formation of the 2021 Board of Elections as required by the charter. I am responsible for organizing the Board of Elections months prior to the city elections. With the coronavirus impact we've experienced in operations and community engagement, the board did not start off as scheduled by the charter. However, with 10 determined residents volunteering for the Board of Elections and help from the city manager, Tim George, and the executive assistant, Nalia Johnson, we are successfully moving ahead with the BOE for the May 2021 election. All meetings are currently being held on Zoom by way of the executive office of the mayor. As far as development proposals in our community and near the city of Glen Arden, we follow the development activity monitoring system, which they call DAMS. And the only thing that we've been tracking lately has been the projects that were in our annexation target area, and we noticed that there were issues with the zoning hearing examiner regarding the Woodmore Overlook case and the zoning map amendment for that particular project. The NOD was actually a recommendation by the zoning hearing examiner of approval. A 15-day notice of appeal is currently in action. So they got approved as is based on what was being held against as far as the notice of decision. There was a case that was heard and they still have decided to go ahead with the developer, but they have to wait till they get a 15-day notice of appeal from some of the people who were actually protesting that particular project. The ceremonial events that I had the honor of attending, not only swearing, well, the only one that I had was swearing in one of the largest number of officers at one time, but on two separate occasions the past couple of months. In addition, I've sworn in a new Board of Election members during a Zoom meeting, and that too is another first. So we had some in-house ceremonies to take place, and it was an honor to swear in the officers and the board members. The intergovernmental relations section of my report talks about the county executive office and some of the things that they're doing as far as the coronavirus is concerned. We maintain weekly correspondence and daily community outreach with the county health department, the CDC, and Governor Hogan, along with the Maryland Health Department. On February 17th, Prince George's County received notification from the Maryland Department of Health informing them that due to the winter weather sweeping the nation, which was a week or so ago, 4,200 first doses of vaccine promised this week were delayed. Due to this unfortunate delay, the health department postponed all first dose vaccinations scheduled during the week of February 19th until the vaccines arrive from the state. All second dose vaccination appointments are continuing as planned. If you had a first dose vaccination scheduled for any of these days, you will receive a new appointment for the week of February 28th. And I just happened to be one of those persons, and I was able to get my shot the week of the 28th, my second shot. Census 2020, we're wrapping that up, but just wanted to let you know that the Census Bureau does still provide a lot of demographic information on their website during the year. And right now they have a particular story on discovering race and ethnicity census data and how do you find that. And I know a lot of people in our community like to collect data on our community and see how well we're doing or how bad we're doing. And the census wants you to come back to their site and visit them at data.census.gov to find out stories such as this with their webinar. The Maryland Department of Planning has announced that their fiscal year 2021 African American Historic Preservation Program grant recipients included one particular project, which I thought was very interesting, and that was that they granted the American Heritage Preservation Program grant recipients. So this is the 10th year of the grant since the program launched, marking $10 million total in fund awarded to 128 grant projects. The Maryland Commission on African American History and Culture and the Maryland Historical Trust jointly administer this program to promote the preservation of Maryland's African American heritage sites. Grant funds, construction projects are important sites throughout the state. This year project included our local museum and some of our cemeteries. But one major project we got done was the Prince George African American Museum and Cultural Center, where North Brentwood, one of our sister cities in Prince George County, received $20,000 to upgrade their facilities and to help improve their art program over there. So that was a good, because one of our cities are represented in with the African American Museum being located in it. And it's just within 20 minutes driving distance from here. You can always welcome to go there. And they have a new director as well. The Maryland Department of Transportation, basically, they've completed their draft environmental impact statement, which you can find online. And they also have decided on which one they're going to choose. And I believe my understanding is that they have chosen the 4-lane, the 4 center lane roadway, so that you can have the toll roads in the middle of the freeway. But then you would have maybe a total of 8 other lanes outside of those 4 lanes where people would be traveling on the free lanes. But there are going to be 4 center lanes and a bus lane for the improvement of the transportation on the I-495. So they did make that decision. The Maryland Black Mayors Association also have been pretty active. They did have an event this past week where they hosted a Black History Month spoken word poetry program, which I had the pleasure of attending last Friday. And that was pretty neat because they had a lot of young people from different parts of the county representing our African-American cities. And unfortunately, Glen Arden wasn't represented at that event, but I swore to my other mayors that we will never let that happen again. And so we'll definitely make sure. And they have also offered to bring the spoken word to our community and help us to nurture young students to practice the spoken word if they're interested. And the African American Mayors Association, they are planning their fiscal year, but they got stuck with the COVID-19 as well. And they are basically dealing with the tumultuous times in all of the major cities that African American mayors are in charge of. And unfortunately, the AAMA hasn't been able to meet. They've been meeting in Zoom meetings, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to have a conference or to continue with any more meetings at this time. The upcoming tasks for the next period will include continuing with the City of Glen Arden's website, also helping vaccination and COVID-19 community outreach. We got some interesting news, matter of fact, today, and I don't have a final approval on this, but the county has asked us if we will open our doors to allow our senior citizens to get vaccination at Glen Arden. And that was something that the Maryland Black Mayors pushed for last week, is to help our senior citizens get vaccinated, because they were reluctant at the first phase to go get their shots, but now they're getting more motivated with the outreach to do it. And so they've had to reverse their plans, and they've asked us to consider it. I haven't talked to the council yet about it, but it's a big, big plan that we could have a big part of helping our seniors out as far as the ones who are interested in getting vaccinated for the COVID-19 virus. The city budget, we're working on the draft for the 2022 fiscal year. We are way ahead of where we should be. I am so happy that Mr. George has been here to help move this in the right direction. and we have been meeting with our treasurer, and I have meetings scheduled with him this week, and we are moving in a rapid pace to get our fiscal year 2022 draft completed as soon as possible. Also, the Board of Elections is moving full steam ahead. We're still working on that, and hopefully we'll be handing off the work to the administration to the chair, and I'm wrapping it up here. But the Maryland General Assembly, I will bring some more information of hopefully some final decisions as far as the legislation being voted on in the coming year. So thank you for the opportunity to share. I know it's a lengthy report, but a lot has taken place in the past month or two. And I thought it was important that we all get caught up with that information. Again, thank you for your time. And if you would like a copy of the report, check the chat room and you will be able to download the report for you to have your own copy. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to send me an email at estes@cityofglenarden.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Estes. The report, his mayor's report should also be on the website for citizens that haven't gotten a copy. Is there any questions from the council to Mayor Estes? Councilwoman Eason?
Yes, thanks. The first question, Mayor Estes, you stated that you repealed the ordinance to increase the mayor's salary, but I believe you meant to say you repealed the repeal ordinance.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
increase
That
the
is
mayor's salary. I
correct.
had to check that one out. Because the increase was passed, but I believe another council member brought up legislation to repeal it. And I guess that's what you repealed. Did we get a copy of the document? Because I don't remember seeing a copy of the document that it was repealed.
I vetoed it and I sent it to the clerk. I'm not sure.
I haven't seen a copy of it.
The council did not re-vote on it to.
Well, I didn't know that it was. I didn't know that the repeal was repealed because I'm just hearing that like now.
Really?
Presentation.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir. This is the first I've heard of that. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but at the same time, I know in the other cases where ordinances were repealed, we received notification and I didn't receive any notification. That's all I'm saying is I'm looking at the process. Okay. Maybe somebody can check out why we didn't, or at least I didn't receive anything. I don't know about anyone else, but I didn't receive any notification that it was repealed.
Yeah, it was repealed within the time constraints and sent back to the clerk.
Okay, well, can someone please follow up and send me that documentation so I'll have it for my records? The other thing you mentioned, Mayor, was the annexation. Who is actually, I know like when I was council president, 5 council members were on a committee with you for annexation. That may or may not be the case now. Who exactly is on your annexation committee now?
Well, right now it was just myself, Shipley and Horn, and we originally had Trey Proctor working with us, but we were going to, throughout the pandemic, we got stuck on go and we were unable to get a lot done like we had planned. And so we do have a PowerPoint presentation and an updated report of what has transpired as of phase 2, our completion of phase 2. So it has been Shipley and Horn and myself, and that's pretty much the gist of what the people that have been working on it.
Okay, I have another follow-up question. Maybe it's just me, but I don't even know what phase 1 was. I don't know what comprised phase 1. So if someone can send documentation of what phase 1 was, maybe I missed it in the email somewhere.
No, it was phase 1 ended like in the middle of the pandemic when we weren't having meetings.
Right, but I guess Mayor Estes, I guess my point, I'm not looking at the timeline of phase one. I'm looking at what tasks were included in phase one. Because once again, I'm hearing phase two that you're mentioning tonight, and I don't even know what phase one tasks were. And I don't know what phase two tasks are.
That's
so I'm
fine.
thinking
I mean, I don't,
document-
are you asking, are you criticizing me or?
No, I'm asking a question, sir. Basically,
Okay, I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Okay, let me break it down and slow down a little bit. In your presentation, in your meeting notes, you stated that you all were working on phase two, correct?
Correct.
Okay, me as a council member, I don't know what phase one tasks were. I don't know what phase two tasks are. So I guess what I'm asking, does someone have a list of what those tasks are, what they comprise of?
Yes, I have those things.
Can those things be shared?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. It's not a criticism. I'm just looking at what things are in progress. The last thing is, since you mentioned the website, just want to give folks an update, a quick update. The city manager and I, we spoke to Jason at Revise. He looked at the site map. Basically, that a lot of the citizens helped us with, at least about 8 of them. And basically, what his task is to actually take the site map and identify current links that the city may or may not have. And then me and the city manager actually have another meeting scheduled with him on Wednesday. And then we're going to actually run through the site map with the links that he identified from the current site. And then we'll actually look and say, these things we have, these things we don't have, these things we need to get. So we're actually doing a gap analysis of the current site and the new site based on the new site map. So that's where we are right now. That's all I have. Thank you.
Madam President,
Councilman Williams.
I believe good Councilwoman Eason and the mayor did not mean to say repeal, mean to say veto. Legislation was veto, not repeal. Mayor Estes, I'm asking that if all possible, when you start up meeting again, that if it's possible, and if you don't want me, that's fine, but I'm volunteering to assist again on the annexation.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, and I guess might as well make a public announcement now, but since I'm not running for mayor in the next term, I have pretty much suspended the project after this phase two, because phase three, we can't really, within the next month or two, we're not going to be able to get much done. So the presentation and the package that I was going to submit to the council was basically going to hand off the annexation plan as it is and where we are now at the end of phase two. And hopefully the next mayor or whomever will take the RAM and move it across the goal line in the next year or so. How about that?
Okay, all right. Well, then I too would like to, like Councilwoman Eason, ask for the documentation of phase one and phase two.
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Council President,
Councilwoman Smallwood.
yes, Mayor Estes, I was reading your report, and Deborah Easton asked the same questions I asked that I had in reference to annexation, so I won't repeat those questions. But also, I was a part of the annexation committee, and since you put it on hold, I won't worry about it being asked to put back on that committee. But I also would like to have copies of phase one and phase two of all those documentations that you have.
Not a problem. It would be in the best interest of all the council members if you give me the opportunity to prepare a final report of the phase 1 and phase 2, and everybody can have the documentation.
That's fine. When will you have it? When will you have it ready?
I was hoping mid-March. I've gotten my final report from Shipley and Horn. I just need to now that the council has asked for the report in the fashion that you've asked for it, then I will prepare it so that you can have the answers that are asked today, and to give you a summary of where we are and what we went through from point A to point B. And hopefully it'll explain our successes and our obstacles as well. So.
All right, thank you, Mayor Estes. Is there any other questions from the council to Mayor Estes?
Yes, Madam President.
Councilman Herring?
Yes, just like you know, are we currently using Shipley and Horn?
They are owed money. That's true, but we have finished working with them as of phase 2 ending.
And so when was the last time you met with them?
Just this week. Last week.
And so we're using them again without a contract. A valid contract.
I have a contract. I don't know what you have.
That's not a valid contract. That was not approved by the city council. Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Yes, here we go again. And the council probably be like, oh,
you know what?
Point of order. We're gonna move on from here.
Madam President, I'm asking a question.
He's answered your question, and now you're going back and forth.
I'm not finished.
Of course you're not finished.
But you are.
Pretty much. I just told you. I'm through with you, buddy.
Thank God, because you don't need nobody else like you.
Because I ain't need no garbage like that in my life.
Garbage is what you are. That's why you're going to go
Councilman Herring,
please, point of order. This is not necessary.
That's why you're going down for that wire type.
Councilman Herring.
Councilwoman Jones, call.
Are there any other questions from the council to Mayor Estes concerning his report? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on from there.
I got another question.
Councilman Herring, we're not going to have you arguing back and forth like this on the meeting.
Madam President, I have a right to ask whatever question I want to ask.
You ain't got to ask me no questions.
I'm going to ask you.
You ain't going to ask me nothing tonight, buddy.
Mayor Estes.
I'm going to ask you a question.
You're not going to ask me jack, because I'm not going to let you ask me.
Madam President.
Councilman Herring, we're going to move on.
I have a right to ask a question. Everybody else ask questions.
He does not want. He's already said that he does not want to answer a question. We're not going to be argumentative. Councilman Herring, we are not. We are not. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the city manager's report.
Let me ask the question and
Councilman Herring.
No.
Councilman Herring, we're not going to do this, Councilman Herring.
Council President, would you get the mayor under control?
Mayor Estes, please. Come on, gentlemen.
Okay, I'll get off.
I don't want you to get off.
I'm not getting off. I'm just hanging up on Miss Smallwood.
Bye.
Councilwoman Smallwood, please.
Well, he brought my name in it.
Councilwoman Smallwood, please.
Don't be yelling at me.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm asking you to please calm down. Okay, I'm gonna put everybody in timeout.
You ain't gonna put me in no timeout. Okay, well, I'll come up there and see what you do.
The city manager, Mr. George, would you please give your report?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Council President Jones. I'll be brief on my report. I want to update you on the MLK project. Working with Ms. Smallwood originally, we now have the authorization for the water sewer contractor has gone out. I reached out to them and let them know that they're good to go. I had the city attorney draft a brief preamble contract to go along with their agreement, just so that we have all the protections that we need. We've invited 5 different electrical contractors to submit bids for the electrical tie-off. Robin with CPJ is taking point on that because she's been working with the project and with BGE and knows all the details. So we're trying to secure an electrical contractor as quickly as possible. When we do, we will of course bring that before this body for your approval. And hopefully we can get that on board. Again, my sincere hope is that we are heading towards demolition in the spring. And then as soon as the weather is warm and the demo is done, we can spend the summer putting in playground equipment and gazebos and turning that into a really lovely park. A few other quick things. The mayor did talk about the budget. We're done. I came up with a new format for the city manager's report. I hope you all like it. It was intended to be a little thinner, a little briefer, so that you all could see some points right away. All of the members of the team, except for the police report, will continue to be separate. Everyone else is going to be submitting their report to my office, and we'll be combining it into a single report, and hopefully that makes it easier for you all to read. Noticeably, you'll see that the code enforcement report has really been summarized into a list of accomplishments. The longer report is still available if you all would like to see it, of the daily tasks, but that turned out to be 7 or 8 pages, and that was a lot of words, and I thought it might be more, just more important and easier for everyone to understand, just to kind of see how many inspections, how many vehicles we impounded, how many things we wrote up, just to give you all more of an output-based report instead of an input-based report. And other than that, working with my team, Leah has been doing a fantastic job coordinating with the election board. They are up and running and doing a great job. The lawyer's been helpful, but they are really doing well. And Leah has been very instrumental in getting them running strong, and they're kind of operating independently at this point. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have about my report. Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilman Herring.
Yes, Mr. George, I do have an issue with the human resources section with these personnel issues on here. I don't think that should be on the report. I mean, it's a number of personnel issues on here that I think, people being terminated, and even though you're not using names, it's not that hard to figure out who it is. I think those issues should not be on this report. Personnel issues, that's a very slippery slope when it comes down to Merlin's right to privacy when it comes down to personnel issues. I think I would look at that and let the attorney look at that and see if that should be included on this report.
Yes, sir. That's a very good point, and we'll definitely work on that, and I'll work with Ms. Schultz next report and make sure that we eliminate anything that has a personal nature that anyone could dial in on. That's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Also, what is your office doing with the election board? Because basically right now, like you said, the election board should be working autonomously from the mayor or the council. The mayor should have absolutely nothing to do with the election board. He should not be giving them any guidance. He should be not giving them anything. Like I said, y'all can give them the administrative support that they need, but actually being involved in him giving guidance should not be occurring.
Yes, I understand. No, the mayor has had no role in the election board. The issue, if I can be quite frank about it, the issue is that there was no institutional knowledge of what happened 4 years ago. None of the members of the last election board are serving on this board. So what Leah has been doing has been working with the attorney and all the documents we have to try to build a package of information, guidance to give to the board so that they can be off and running. We aren't providing any decision-making for them. We're simply providing them the forms, financial disclosures, the petition forms that the candidates need to sign. None of that was in a package form that we could deliver to a board. So Leah has been working very hard to pull all of that together to hand to the board so they can then be independent. But I don't have a role in that board. The mayor does not have a role in setting that up. It is really Leah and the city attorney that have been working to get that board up and running so they can be independent.
Have y'all thought of reaching out to Mrs. Langford? She's the former chair of the election board. She probably got information that would be very helpful. Ms. Geraldine Langford. I think she may reach out. I mean, she may volunteer her services.
Well, Melanie, I believe Melanie,
Whitaker.
I'm sorry, her last name is escaping me.
Whitaker.
She was the last chair, and we have reached out to her, and she has been able to provide some emails. But because of her new work schedule and other issues, she chose not to join the committee or to play a more active role. We have emailed her. We've also reached out to our peers and some of the other municipalities to get forms that they've used so that we can pull all this together. But again, there was no SOP left behind. There was no really, task list of what we needed to do and how we needed to do it. So we've been rapidly pulling this together as quickly as possible so that the board can go off and be independent without with really minimal support from the administration, none of which really is coming from me or from the mayor.
I mean, I'm just saying, Ms. Langford was the chair for a number of elections, and so she would know also to give a hand out. So
yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Councilwoman Eason.
Thanks. Mr. George, you actually had an addendum to your manager's report where you mentioned that you were looking at cable service providers, and you found one that was good, but I think you said you had to go and get some other proposals, I believe, your addendum. Yes,
we and to be honest, and I know I understand what Mr. Herring said earlier in the meeting, but because none of us, we're all very new and we don't know what that system is and what it's capable of, we've had an outside vendor come in and take a look at it and assess it for us. The big issue of why he's recommending new equipment is in his estimation, the equipment we have, while it is digital, isn't set up for live streaming. So you wouldn't be able to live stream meetings on the website. And I know that's something that we're looking to do, to have a greater digital presence on the web. So one of the things he's looking at is that new equipment. Unfortunately, like I said, we reached out to 3 vendors. One of them never got back to us. The second one, as I said in my addendum, strangely enough, got back with a quote to do an assessment, but not actually the assessment itself. And we weren't going to pay a vendor to come in and give them a couple $1,000s to tell us what's wrong. This other vendor came in for free. This gentleman also happens to be doing services for other Prince George's County communities, including College Park. And he not only set up their system, but runs their meetings digitally. He runs the cameras and uploads things to the site. I know the College Park manager quite well, and he gave him a very good recommendation as someone that he thought could do a good job. Right now, because of the amount, we would need another bid or 2, and I'd like to put it out on Maryland, on the Maryland e-marketplace website. There is an emergency provision in the code that allows to suspend those rules if the council want to go with a single vendor. Although I'm not entirely sure, I'd run this by Kevin, whether or not this would really be considered an emergency. But otherwise, we are going to try to move as quickly as possible to get a competitive bid. If we put it out on eMaryland and we don't get any competitive bids, we will have fulfilled the obligations of the purchasing under the charter, and we could move with the one vendor that we have.
Okay. Yeah, because okay, yeah, thanks. Because I saw when I saw the addendum, your addendum, I thought it was good that they were you all were looking at live streaming, because I was going to ask the question, but I did see it in your notes, which is good because we were looking at that 2 years ago when we discussed the new website. Another thing I believe I saw is that the vendor was recommending new microphones. Was that microphones for the council chambers?
Yes. He also was saying that the microphones and the cameras we have now are fine. But that some of them, I guess the padding on the microphone itself is getting a little raw, and others are showing a little wear and tear. So he was recommending, if you're going to upgrade the entire system, that you might want to go ahead and upgrade the microphones as well. Same thing with the cameras. He said the cameras are fine. They'll work fine for what you want to do, but there are newer cameras that have more tech that we could consider using if the council felt that was important. As you all know, all of the hardware components can come out of the PEG funds, and we have, I think 250,000 or more, and Mr. Bratton can confirm in that PEG fund now. So that wouldn't come out of the general budget. That wouldn't come out of, directly taxpayer money. I mean, it all comes out of taxpayer money eventually because it is a tax on their cable bill, but we could draw that money with the budget amendment from the council out of the PEG fund into the equipment fund and go ahead and make that purchase without having to affect the general fund or the tax base.
Okay, follow-up question. For inventory, do you have a current inventory of all the equipment that's in the cable room now?
We do. Yeah, Public Works pulled that together for us a few weeks ago. And we were going to, we showed that to the vendor. And when we kind of select the final vendor, we can pick and choose and see what equipment we can use and what equipment we can't use. Most of the big cameras are analog, so we would probably want to swap those out for digital cameras if we wanted to begin to do some more original programming. I know you've done some of that in the past. We would want to get new cameras that are digital and not the analog cameras that are in there now.
Okay, and then one last question. Were there any inventory that the previous service provider may have had that he delivered back to the city? That may have been city equipment?
I can't answer that. I have not seen an inventory that the previous contractor did, but that's not to say that he didn't do that, and I just haven't come across it yet.
Is someone going to ask about that?
We can certainly reach out. I can certainly reach out to him and ask him if he has if he had done an inventory before he stopped working with us.
Because I know that when I was council president, a lot of items were purchased. So I'm sure you can talk to Mr. Bratton to get the purchase orders to match them up with your inventory. And if he can't find them, I have two large pink books where I kept track of all the checks and everything that I signed. So I'm sure if he can't find at least the ones that were done in those 2 years as I was president, when I was president, then I'm sure I could flip through the books to see if I can find the purchase orders, but hopefully his system would be a little bit faster than me flipping through the pages. Okay. He could probably run a report on the service provider's name and identify all of the checks that were written out for that company, and then match them up with the purchase orders, and then match them up with your inventory.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other council persons have any questions for Mr. George?
Madam President.
I'm sorry, is that Councilwoman Wilson or is that?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes, I just wanted to thank Mr. George for condensing the reports. I've always thought that the code enforcement, one of them anyway, was just too long. So thank you for combining those things and condensing. So I want to know, Mr. George, concerning the cable, when is it that you all actually started working on getting something done with the cable, concerning the cable, or trying to have the meetings, the recorded meetings, virtual meetings, put on the cable?
Well, I think that goes back even beyond me. I know Mayor Estes had been working with a contractor before I even came on board, and I think even in my first week, had some folks out to take a look at the system. So it's been going on for quite some time. In terms of the formal, I think you can see in that email string that I sent you, we've been talking to this one contractor since early February and reached out to him before and had a site visit out in late January. He unfortunately had some issues with the folks that he gets his supplies from, and his primary sales contact left And so he was delayed several weeks in getting his response. But we've been kind of working on this since, really mid-January, at least, aggressively trying to find contractors to come out and take a look at our system.
Because I'm really concerned about it because it doesn't seem to have been a priority. And it's my understanding that it was only like a couple of weeks ago that this issue with having vendors come out and taking a look at it really started to take place. And I've been inquiring about the cable since late October. Now I know you didn't come until a few months later, or a month. I think you came in like the end of November, first part of December, but this has not seemed to have been a priority. And we still have the seniors out there who are inquiring about the cable, and it just has not taken place.
Madam President, can I speak on that?
Estes, if you can enlighten us.
Yes, I would have to bring a point up to the council that we were actually locked out of the cable network room that has passwords and key locks that we didn't have the passwords. And so the vendor was holding the cable studio hostage, as well as the equipment. So we didn't have any access, we had to break into the cable television studio. And to this day, the vendor has refused to cooperate in a fashion that even the inventory list is gonna be a problem because he won't share anything with us.
I think you fired him, didn't you?
No, ma'am. This is before he was fired.
You did not send him, you sent him a letter of some type?
Nope.
To say that his services were no longer needed? You didn't do that?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I beg to differ with you. But so
you got a copy of it?
My thing is this, Mr. Estes, Mayor
Letter doesn't
Estes. Excuse
exist.
me, point of order, Madam President.
You're not calling a point of order, Ms. Wilson.
So I'm just saying that it's a matter of it just does not seem to be a priority, because to me this is something that we should have been worked on until we receive the solution to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wilson. And I would like to add, as I've said before, dealing with the technology where we are today and trying to bring this the back online. It's not as easy as touching the remote and the television comes on for you. It's much more behind touching that button than just hitting a button and the television comes on. We're purchasing signal. We're dealing with signal, and the signal not only comes from whatever providers we use, but they're bringing signal from all over the place. We're buying signal. We're purchasing signal. The signal was there, but now we need to upgrade the signal from analog to HD. It's just not that simple.
Excuse me, but Madam President, we had come to HD. We were no longer in analog. So I'm really not sure just what you're talking about.
Okay.
But we had come up to HD. As Mr. Herring had said, equipment had been bought so that we were utilizing HD.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Oh, you're making a lot of excuses for what was done, and it really caused an issue for senior citizens and people who utilize the cable. You caused problems.
But if you look at the documents that Mr. George has gotten from the vendors that he's trying to use, there's some of that equipment in there that is not HD yet, and it can't do live streaming.
Madam President.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that you caused a problem.
No, I didn't cause the problem.
You didn't think it through before you let Mr. Butler go, and before you and the mayor let Mr. Butler go. You're in the habit of doing away with stuff before you get things set up to go to something new. And I really wish that you all would stop doing it, because it causes problems. And it causes problems for the citizens. So what you end up doing is taking that service away from the citizens. That's what has happened. That they no longer have that service because you all wanted to go to something new. You all wanted to go down another path, which it didn't come before the full council. And all I'm saying is it caused issues for our seniors and for anyone else who was utilizing cable, because things were not able to be put up, notifications not being able to be made. So you caused a problem.
I beg to differ, Councilwoman Wilson. Notifications are being made on that cable system. There are notification messages up there now. Now, I mean, you may not be able to live stream the meetings, but notification for different things has been put on on the cable channel. Are there any other questions?
Madam President?
Councilwoman,
no,
I'm sorry. Point of order, Councilwoman Wilson.
No, point of order on you, because I'm talking. I said I had another comment to make. What I'm saying to you is that whatever services we had, we no longer have, because of what you all have done. And that's my point there. You took away services, whatever we were having, which was available to us, you took it away. Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilwoman Wilson. Any other questions for Mr. George from the council? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Chief of Police report. Captain Jackson, will you be doing that, or because I don't see the chief on here? You're muted, sir. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you have a copy of it, I don't have a copy of it.
Okay, we can leave it until the next meeting, and the chief can or whoever he assigns can go through it then. If there are any questions from the council pertaining to the police chief's report, certainly you can send emails to the chief and ask him what your questions are, since Captain Jackson has no copy of the police chief's report. So with that, we'll move on to the next item in the
President.
Councilman Herring.
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. I just want to thank the Captain Jackson and all the officers, Lieutenant Robinson, for their assistance the other day for the drive-by for Mrs. Lattimore, because they were able to block the highway off so we can get across to go ahead and give her the drive-by, even though they were not allowed to participate, which I still don't understand. And also, I just want to thank the police for assisting me really when I had a concern about one of our residents who we hadn't heard from. His groceries were out on his front step and no one knew where he was, and they came and they were very professional. They were able to get into the house without having to kick the door in to check on him. The citizen was all right. He was actually fell ill and had to go to the hospital, and nobody knew where he was. And so I want to thank the police department for their assistance on that. They're very professional assistance and everything, but because that was a serious issue. The gentleman was actually sick, and luckily somebody did take him to the hospital, but he was all right. So, all right, thanks a lot.
I think the neighbor across the street, Mr. Harrison, was in touch with the neighbor.
No, he
okay.
was. No.
Okay. We'll move on to the next, the city treasurer's report.
Good evening, citizens, council, administration. City treasurer's report includes a statement of revenues and expenditures for the month ending January 31st. I'd like to apologize for my report coming in late this month. It was late due to technical difficulties with the accounting software going down multiple times during the past few weeks. And last week it was down for several days, hindering myself and my staff from getting that work done sooner. We believe some of the problems are due to conflicts with software and network upgrades made by T-Spec. That being said, the city treasurer's report includes revenue and expenditures for the month ending January 31st. In January, we have revenues of $885,832, expenses of $293,427. The $800,000 of that was for property taxes this month. These activities resulted in a year-to-date total revenues exceeding the year-to-date expenses by $1,843,384. During the month, I worked with the city manager and the mayor on the budget, which is coming together. The auditors have completed the audit, and they forwarded the audit report to the state on Friday, February 26th. And that concludes my report.
All right, does any council members have any questions for the treasurer?
Council President, I have a counsel for Mr. Bratton.
Councilwoman Smallwood?
Mr. Bratton, have we heard from the state of Maryland as to what percentage of the new money we're going to get?
The new money we're going to get from what source are you talking about?
I think the federal government gave the state of Maryland about $390 million. And it's supposed to be broken down to each individual municipality.
I've not heard anything about that fund as of yet.
Okay.
But I'll try and look into that.
All right, I'll give you the information tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Bratton? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to topics of discussion. First topic of discussion is Councilwoman Smallwood with job descriptions. And I'm sorry, I just want to let you know if you have the questions that you might have for pertaining to job descriptions, the human resource specialist is on here.
Okay, my concern is that I requested copies of all job descriptions, old and updated ones. I got those job descriptions and the new ones need to come to the floor for the council to approve them. And I also wanted to know if the new job description is what the employees are being evaluated on at the present, or are they still being evaluated on under the new one, old ones?
Ms. Schultz?
Ms. Smallwood, I'm unsure as to why the position descriptions need to come to council, because technically they are not new job descriptions. I was tasked when I first was hired to have all the position descriptions reviewed because they had not been reviewed. I worked with the attorney, and what we did was a paper review of the position description. So it's basically an update. The employees provided me updates. Those updates were incorporated within the position description they had at that time. The position descriptions were then forwarded to the supervisors for review. I got all of them back with the exception of maybe one or two. I was given the go-ahead and every position description that was updated was forwarded to the attorney for vetting and to ensure that he and I were both looking at the correct FLSA code. So there's technically not a new position description for everyone. Everyone does have a copy of that position description. They received it. I can give you the exact date. Tomorrow, I don't have the email with me. Wait a minute, yes, I do. Every employee received that new position description. And yes, they are being, they will be rated on that position description. So I'm not sure what the issue is.
Well, I just reviewed the new ones, and based on the new ones and the old ones, they're 90% rewritten. And so they're 90% rewritten. They need to come back to the council so council can get approval on them.
Well, I have copies of both the old and the new. And I can honestly tell you that I don't truly believe they were 90% rewritten. The ones that were basically rewritten was, well, the ones that were worked on more than others were the one in Public Works, one in Council Clerk office. The other ones, the supervisor, they were not vastly rewritten, and I have copies of both that I can share with whomever wants to look at them. Because I kept the old one as well as the new one, but the ones that we were looking at were dated 2007, 2008. Nothing had really been rewritten or touched in over 7 or 8 years. But you know, I'm free to sit down and work with you to look at what you're looking at, to see what I'm looking at, to compare old and new and revised or totally rewritten, because nothing was 90% rewritten.
Okay. I will make an appointment for us to do that.
Yes, ma'am.
But in the meantime, I'm going to put in a request that you do not evaluate the employees on the new or revised job description until they get approval from the council.
Again, Ms. Smallwood, I'm not trying. I don't understand the reasoning behind not being an approval, only because you know these have been out there since basically I want to say March or April, either March or April timeframe. And every employee's position description was actually approved with the exception of the council clerk. Because the former city manager did not have approval to say yay and nay on that one. So, but I will sit down. I mean, if you're telling me that employees can't be rated on what they've had in their possession, then I guess I have to live with that. I don't understand why, but.
Ms. Schultz, the reason why I'm asking for this is because as a council member and as for our duties as a council person, we are supposed to review those and approve those. Even if you do make revision, they are still supposed to come to the council for approval. All I want to do is make sure that the approval is done and these job descriptions are done in the appropriate way. That's all I'm asking for.
Okay, the only issue that I have, Councilwoman Smallwood, is the employees have received midterm reviews based on their current, the position description of record and their position and their performance evaluation. So if you're asking me to halt everything and stop everything at this juncture until council reviews everything and then start over again?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Eason.
I would recommend Ms. Schultz have a conversation with the attorney. Since she stated that the attorney was involved with the process, I would recommend she have a conversation with the attorney on whether or not things should be held back or put on hold, etc., since he was involved with the process. That would be my recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Eason. Councilman Williams?
I'll ask to take a consensus vote on this. I think this is administration. I understand the council was doing a lot, stepping in when administration wasn't doing what they were supposed to do. This is an administrative function, and for approval to do what Ms. Smallwood is asking puts a strain on administration. They make administrative policy, and we can approve it, but it is policy until we override their policy. So I would just ask the council to hold. I like the suggestion that Ms. Eason just made, because don't want to get in a conflict between old, new, whether they rated it or not, and something legal happens in between the time. So that we leave things as is until the attorney reviews it, until we get to it. And if we get to it, assuming we will get to it, but let the administration's policy be the policy until we either change those policies legislatively, because they have a right to make policies, and if we don't like it, then we can change it through legislation, overrule it, and rewrite the policy. But in the middle, let's not get in the middle of it. Let them continue to do what they do until we decide to change, set, or amend the policy. So I'm asking, since the whole board here, let's take a consensus on that, because that's one person's view that she asked us, the HR director. I don't agree with that. And obviously Ms. Eason don't agree with that, because she's saying, ask the attorney to give her guidance on this. And I'm basically asking the same way, and let things stay status quo until we hear back from that advice and counsel. Thank you.
Council President.
Just a moment. Councilwoman Wilson.
Yes, I would suggest that first Ms. Smallwood, Councilwoman Smallwood, and Ms. Schultz would meet together so that Ms. Schultz would know exactly what Councilwoman Smallwood is talking about. So before we take any consensus to do anything or whatever, why don't we allow Ms. Smallwood and Ms. Schultz to meet together? Then she can, Councilwoman Smallwood can explain to her what it is she's talking about, and that would be a meeting of the minds. Thank you.
Councilwoman Smallwood.
I just want to correct the statement that Councilman Williams made. Councilman Williams, it's not that the council has was involved in other administrative stuff prior to the changing of the job description. It's in the personnel manual that the council approved PDs. So that's already a order, requirements that the council's supposed to do. And I'm just following the requirements that's in the personnel manual that we're supposed to be doing.
Just a moment. I'm sorry, Ms. Schultz.
Councilwoman Smallwood, the way it reads in the current personnel manual is that council is to review new positions and reclassifications. And the reclassification is what we did for an employee in admin when we actually changed her title from A to B. Council reviewed that and they approved that. The desk audit that I did were not on new positions. So I saw, but you know, I will meet and do whatever you need to do, want to do, but I will reach out to the attorney first thing in the morning to see if I just need to pause. Everybody throughout the city needs to pause everything. That means there's no performance evaluations at the end of July or anything else. I mean, the end of June.
Madam President.
End of June.
Just a
Madam
moment,
President.
just a moment, Mr. Herring.
Hold on, hold on, what happened to my phone?
I'm looking for the exact verbiage.
Okay, Council President.
Just a moment, Councilwoman Smallwood. Mr. Schultz is still talking.
Oh, no, I was looking for the exact verbiage that was brought to my attention earlier last month regarding the position description itself. And as soon as I can find it, if it's within time, I'll tell you exactly where it is.
Thank you, Ms. Schultz. Councilman Herring.
Yes, the council does have responsibility when it comes down to the position descriptions and the reclassification of the title and everything. It's actually in the personnel manual under Chapter 2, Section 2C, and it says the assignment of a position to the proper class, title, and grade after the addition of the responsibility to a new or existing position shall be the responsibility of the city council. So that it is it's in the personnel manual that the council does have its responsibility.
But we didn't change any, Councilman Herring, we didn't change any titles. We didn't change any grades.
You added, you changed responsibility.
Right, it says the assignment of positions to a proper class, title, and grade after the addition of responsibilities to a new/existing position.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Right.
All right. Yes, sir.
And my thing also is that nothing stops. You just do the evaluation on that older job description. You still do the job description, or if we pass or approve them, you do it on whatever's approved at that point. It is nothing stops. You just do the evaluation based on what they had previous.
Okay.
Before they were upgraded.
So, okay.
Okay. So you're going to do an evaluation on a job description that's from 2007. When Ms. Schultz was brought on board, I thought the first thing that was asked for her to do was to do table audits to update the positions and the descriptions, the position descriptions that we had in the city. I mean, what's the point of having a human resource person if you're not going to follow human resource policies? Mr. George, as city manager and working with labor, can you shed some light on this also? I mean, is there something that?
I just read the same paragraph that Mr. Herring read.
Mm-hmm.
And I concur with what Karen was saying. Generally speaking, if it's an existing position and we're simply doing a table audit to refine that job description, we're not changing the class, we're not changing the grade, we're not changing the salary level. We're just simply reevaluating that position based on workload and workflow. That's typically an administrative function. Now I know Glen Arden's policies are different than others, so I'm not saying that's true here, but typically, yes, the council certainly has a responsibility to add positions, to remove positions, to change them in grade and class and salary. But generally, when a position is simply being modified because we look at it and realize that the scope of that person's responsibilities has changed slightly because things do change in the way we do our business, that's an administrative function to change that. The employee is well aware of it, the supervisor is well aware of it, the discussions are had, and then the decisions change in there because they may be doing things differently. We may have, their function might have been to mow a lawn with a push mower, and now they're using a riding mower. And so we change their job description to show that they're now using different equipment. But that doesn't necessarily need to go before council for approval. That's just simply changing the function within the class and within the grade, we're modifying things because of, the continuity, government changes, it's fluid. Again, I have not talked to the city attorney and really looked in depth. I didn't know what this discussion was going to be about, so I wasn't able to prepare better for it, and I apologize for that. But we will certainly talk to Kevin. But my problem, working, in my previous job and also just talking with other managers when we've had issues about compensation studies and things like that, which I've been through. Typically, as long as you're not adding a new position or materially changing its class or grade, the administration is free to modify job descriptions as situations warrant.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Councilman Herring.
it doesn't matter what other municipalities do or what you believe, is what the law says. My thing is, you need to go get to the attorney and ask the attorney what this section actually means. Because what I'm reading is one thing, and what Mr. George is reading is something else. That's what we need to do. So it doesn't matter what other people do. Like I say, well, again, it's what our law says. It really bothers me when people try to get around things and say what other people do when our law is sitting here on the book. Our law is what needs to be followed. So you need to get clarification on our law and find out if our law is what is being read correctly or what it actually means. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. I think we all agree that Ms. Schultz and Mr. George will take this to the attorney, Mr. Kopinski, and get his opinion on this. And if Mrs. Councilwoman Smallwood wants to sit down with Ms. Schultz, they can certainly make an appointment to do that. Once we get that opinion from the attorney, we will revisit this. The next item on the topics of discussion is the cable, which we've already been through. I don't think that was Mrs. Wilson. Mrs. Wilson, did you have any, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wilson, did you have any other questions concerning the cable?
No.
Thank you. All right, the next issue.
Madam President, real quick, I do have a comment on the cable. Okay, right now go ahead. Would you say, Madam President?
I said Councilman Herring, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sitting here at my computer right now, and I actually opened up my PowerPoint program, and I downloaded a video into PowerPoint, and I'm watching the video playing. It finished playing the video, and it went to another slide. So there's no way for them to download those videos from Zoom onto a file and insert it into PowerPoint and have them play? I mean, I just did it just now, and it worked just fine. So if we're using PowerPoint to show slides, just insert a video into the slide. I mean, that's what I don't understand. That's why it doesn't seem like there's much effort to get this information out to the people, because it's really not that difficult to do. So that's all I have to say about the cable. All right, bye.
Mr. George, did you want to address that, or should we move on?
Oh, I mean, basically, Lee and
don't
I
know
can
what
take a
kind of
look at it
equipment he's
tomorrow.
using.
So
Okay.
we're happy to take a look at that tomorrow and see if we can get that to work. We have limited access. Leah has to do it from her computer because we don't have log into the TV studio computer. But if we can make that happen, we'll give it a shot this week.
We still didn't get that log me in password, and
we have the login for the computer itself, but the software, she has remote access with her username. The username for the software on the computer itself, it's my understanding we don't have that password for the the TV studio computer login itself.
okay. All right, well, you can check on that tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda was the timeline for department heads reports. And that was something that I brought up because it was an issue in February where the department heads reports was asked for in the first week of February. But in reading the council rules said agenda preparation. All documents or verbal information to be included in the council agenda for the council meetings are to be delivered to the council clerk by Tuesday prior to the week of the work session. I think we should stick with that until it's changed. I think before I saw an email that was sent to me concerning this early on, where maybe Miss Eason would like to shed some light on it. She sent an email saying that they pushed the date back to not the Tuesday, but the Friday before, because it gave the council clerk more time to address, because they were sending out postcards. I might be saying that wrong, but at this juncture, due to what's going on, Mr. George has streamlined his reports. He's getting all his reports from his staff to turn in his city manager's report. It includes everybody that's on the staff. I think that we can get the, even with the Tuesday date, and it'll give us a more up-to-date report. Like the police chief's report this month was from January 8th to February the 11th, and we're already in March. So that will give them a more up-to-date report. And like I said, it's in the council rules that it should be the Tuesday before. And I believe that we can get those reports and that out. Councilwoman Eason.
Yeah, you're correct. When I was council president, that was during the time where the council clerk was mailing out the cards for public hearings. And so we set the date back so that you could actually have all the documentation and the entire package. Because once those public hearing postcards got to citizens, any citizens could contact her and request the package. So that actually gave her more time to get the cards done, and get the package done, and get everything for us done.
Okay, so
that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So those cards are not being sent out anymore. I think the information is on the website and on the marquee and on the sandwich boards. And like I said, it's in the council rules that this resolution has been passed, that these reports, the department heads' reports are due by the Tuesday prior to the meeting. And even this time around, Mayor Estes sent his report the Tuesday before, and it gave us the time to include those into on the agenda. And the next day, I think it's supposed to be for the packet. I think Wednesday or Thursday for the packet to go out to the council is sufficient enough time for us to get the packet and review it before the meeting on that Monday. So I'm asking that we follow the direction of the council rules pertaining to meeting agendas, that that the department head reports come up the Tuesday before the meeting. And the only other question I was asked about these meetings is, and maybe council members, you have to shed some light on this for me because I'm not familiar with this. We have tonight, or the work session, we do the mayor's report, the city manager's report, the chief of police's report, and the city treasurer's report. And then next week, we will go back over this same thing again. Is there any way that we can streamline this, whereas we can just receive the report, review the report? If we have questions, send an email to the city manager, if it's something very pressing, or just have this, have this done one time at the regular meeting, or instead of having it 2 times at the work session and at the regular meeting. Any comments, Councilwoman Eason?
The reason that all of this information is provided at the work session, it gives council members an opportunity to ask questions during the work session. The reason you have this information at the regular meeting is because it allows citizens to ask questions during the regular meeting. However, I may see something this evening as a council member during the work session that I may not pick up on until next week at the regular meeting, which I'm still allowed the opportunity to ask a question.
Right.
So that's why it seems repetitive. It's because it is repetitive, but you have 2 different audiences. One is for council members to discuss, and then the other for regular meeting is for citizens to discuss, because they're not allowed to speak during work sessions.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that clarity.
Opportunity to ask additional questions.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarity. So I will take that under advisement. And like I said, as far as department heads, all of the department heads, your report is due the Tuesday before the work session. Okay, and our expectation is that you send those reports in a timely manner, not at 5 minutes to 5, because the council clerk is getting ready to get off. We can't have that. Please send them in a timely manner. Okay. Before we move on. Just 1 second, I'm sorry. The next topic of discussion was drive-by celebrations. The drive-by celebrations that we're doing now because of COVID-19, the first couple were done, we didn't have any guidelines. I feel like we should have some type of guidelines. And I sat down with the city manager and asked him his thoughts, and he provided me with his thoughts, and I only added one other thing. His thoughts were this, that you must be a city resident, 90 years or older. Only officers that are on duty at the time and command staff as available shall participate. The police department will designate an officer or command staff to take pictures, but no outside photographers or videographers will be used that will cost the city that will cause the city to incur a cost. Administration will post pictures and birthday announcements on the city webpage. A notice will go out as soon as practical to the mayor and council so that they may participate if they choose. The police department will oversee the drive-by notifications and all other aspects of the event. And then I added that that the persons that wanted to do the drive-by, if they wanted to stage at the on the city parking lot at City Hall, that that could also be done. Any suggestions, concerns, questions? Let's do some. Let's put this in writing so that we'll have some guidelines as to how this is going to be done. Any other?
I do have
Madam President.
I'm sorry.
I have a
Sorry,
question.
wait. Councilwoman Eason.
Yeah, what if you have somebody that just turned 21 and they want to drive by and they're a taxpaying citizen?
Okay, this is saying for 90 years and older.
I know, but what if there's somebody who just turned 21 and their parents are tax-paying citizens in the city and they want to have a drive-by?
That's a good question. I mean, tax-paying citizen, 21. So we should just have drive-by for anybody that calls up to the council, I mean, to the, calls into 2100, 773-2100 and asks for the city manager and say.
I don't have an answer for you because this is the first that I'm seeing a quote unquote guidelines, but it probably requires a little bit of discussion.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you can't do for one person that you can't do for all. It could be somebody that says they're having a baby shower and they want to drive by from the city. They're tax-paying citizens. So how can you say you're going to do it for one group of folks, but you're not going to do it for another group of folks? And all of these folks are tax-paying citizens.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, but I don't have an answer for that either, you know.
Okay.
When where is the cutoff at? And when you do this, I mean, you either do it for everybody or you do it for nobody. Councilwoman Ferguson. I'll get you, Mr. Herring, after Councilwoman Ferguson.
I think he was next.
Okay, Councilwoman.
Go ahead, Ms. Ferguson. No, go ahead.
He's deferring his time to you.
Thank you. I think, I mean, just what Councilwoman Easton said, 21. I mean, it could be somebody, I mean, really, it's going to have to really be thought about some kind of operating procedure, because even I mean, to the point where how many can we do in 1 month, for instance? Just say if you know, we can, you know, or somebody might want to have something 3 different times in one day. Another thing is if you want to drive by, they should have some kind of criteria as far as time. I mean, if you want somebody to drive by on Wednesday and you're calling Tuesday or Monday, I mean, they should be, you know, you have to, if you want that, you know, it has to be 7 days in advance, 14 days. It's a lot that need to be dealt with. I mean, you can have like a 5-year-old boy that love police cars. So he's 5, you know, and they want that. So my thing is, like you say, how do you determine? Because if you have taxpayers, how you know, are you saying you're not doing no more than 10 a month? Or I mean, once it becomes public that we have this this feature, or this is offered in the city, I mean, you can wind up with every day having to drive by every day, maybe two on a Saturday. So I mean, it really needs to be discussed, because I mean, again, people are catching on to it. I mean, I've had people ask me, what could they do? Their daughter is graduating this year, so, and I told them, we just have to discuss it. So this is something that we do need to make some kind of standard operating procedures, and everybody is not going to be able to get their way. Either that or just don't do it at all, because it could become very tedious. If everybody knows, and like I said, you might wind up have a drive-by every day in the month, because how many citizens do we have, or households do we have? So I think it should be seriously talked about, and there are going to be some cutoffs, I think. So that's just my opinion. I'm done.
Councilman Herring.
Yes, the age, you can set an age limit on what services you're going to provide to people. The county does it every day with senior lunches and senior programs. You got to be a certain age to avail yourself of this program. I pay taxes, but I can't avail myself of those programs because I don't meet the age requirement. So you can set an age limit of 90 if that's what the council wants to do. Also, but I do have a problem with it, with the section that he says only police officers on duty are allowed to participate. Is that what you said?
You want to cut down the cost to the city. It says only officers that are on duty at the time and command staff as available. I mean, even if they're on duty, if they're at something that is police event, they're still not going to be able. They won't be able to come because they're at something that concerns the police. They just can't leave a police event to come and do a drive-by. I mean, I wouldn't expect the police department to do that.
I think that if a police officer want to volunteer their time, they should be allowed to volunteer their time. If they want to come in and do it, then they should be able to they should volunteer their time to do it. I mean, one, it'll save us from having to take an officer off the street if they want to volunteer. And if we don't get a volunteer, then we use officers that's on hand. I mean, just like we had 5 officers on the drive-by on Saturday. Now, I don't understand why those 5 officers could block the traffic for us, but they couldn't just ride around the block and go down past this neighbor's house. That really bothered me because they were there already. But you can put a cutoff on services that you provide to the citizens based on the age. Like I said, the county does it all the time. The federal government does it. Everybody does it, and you're a taxpaying citizen. But if a police officer wants to volunteer their time to be in a drive-by, I think they should be allowed to do that. Not only working police officers on the time. I mean, if somebody comes and they're not working, they won't get paid. I mean, they're not being told to come do it. So I think that volunteerism should be allowed also, because that way we could actually leave officers on the street if we get enough to volunteer and have them participate. Because that's what we did one time before. We did that for Ms. Carter. None of the officers volunteered their time.
Okay, volunteer officers. Any other comments?
Madam President.
Councilman Williams.
I believe it's a policy that the administration should implement, and they know the resources, what kind of resources they have. The chief knows, the city manager knows, and how to deploy them. And if it becomes a problem based on what's going on, then I think it's a problem. Then it's something that we can step in and do some legislation. But I think this is an administrative issue, directive recommendations that the city managers have, how to implement something to deploy the resources that they have. And let's see what it works. And if it becomes a problem down, we learn, take best practices and learn lessons. And then we can, if necessary, have to step in and do some legislation to address it, then so. But I say, let's put it in the ball, let them handle it, see what happens, and then let's go from there. That's my 2 cents on this. Thank you.
Because the city manager did recommend that it should go to the police chief, because like he said, he knows the resources of the police department at the time. But I just wanted to, you know, to, if the council feels like the city manager can handle this with the police department, should I take a consensus on that?
Council President, before you make a consensus, I'd like to make a statement.
Councilwoman Smallwood?
I'm in agreement with Councilman Herron is setting the age requirement at 90, but also with the policemen's working with us, that falls out under their outreach, community outreach, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, under community outreach, the office is supposed to at least be able.
I didn't touch nothing. Councilwoman Smallwood, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Like I was saying, the officers are required to do community outreach. And normally when you do community outreach, it is on a volunteer basis. So I'm in agreement with Mr. Hearn that the age limit would be set at 90 and that the officers will be who hasn't reached their community outreach service time should be able to participate.
Well, like I said, what was suggested to me was that the police department would handle this. You know, it would not be it would be through the administration, and the police department would handle as far as the logistics of what would happen. Captain Jackson, you want to shed some light on it as a police officer?
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Most of the time, we do have adequate manpower, and given enough time, we can coordinate any drive-bys that are approved by the council or whomever is, you know, affording us the permission to do it. Like the other day when we did it down on Martin Luther King, we just so happened it was overlap day and we had ample manpower, so it didn't take away from the officers responding to calls for service.
I'm sorry, you said you had an overlap day. That's why you had all those officers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so once again, I think this is like, I agree with Mr. Williams that this is a policy that the administration can put forth, and that this is a policy that the administration can bring forth and just sit down with the police chief and determine from and maybe they could do, like, before the council even gets in it, like Mr. Williams says, give us a number or a report of how many people have actually called for this, what the age limit was. I mean, you know, and do an analysis to find out, how this fares within the city. But I
Council
agree,
President, I'm sorry, I thought you were finished.
just a moment. I do agree with Mr. Williams as far as this being a administrative process. And because there is in the police department community outreach resources, they're better able to handle that. Just like when they do the children at the school, they don't come to the council and ask for direction and how much money they're going to spend or what they're going to do for the Christmas and whatever, or and the children that we service are the children in the schools in our community. So I think that they're better able to handle this outreach for citizens. But like I said, somewhere along the line, it's going to have to be a cutoff, because if I just jump up and say, I want to drive back because I'm just depressed, there's got to be something. Councilwoman Wilson, I'm sorry.
Yes, I don't think that depressed would come in line with being 90 years old or 100. So I think the age requirement would settle some things. So, but I just think that everything doesn't have to be regulated. I don't think we have to make a big deal out of everything, because all this is to bring a smile to a senior's face, to let them know that we appreciate them, let them know that we care about them, and especially if we're asked if we could do that. I think we end up making a big deal out of nothing a lot of times. And so it was just a matter of bringing a smile to someone's face and letting them feel that they were really special. I think that's all that we're trying to accomplish here. It's not a matter of, well, you're spending this money on that person and that money on another person and that money on another person. A lot of times the money is not even coming from out of city funds. It's coming from out of individuals' pockets, their personal money. So it's like we want to regulate everything, and I don't think everything needs to be regulated all the time.
Council President.
Councilwoman Smallwood.
And I think after we get through this pandemic, I don't even think we're going to have people asking for drive-bys. Because the only reason why people are asking for drive-bys now, because they can't have family members coming in their house. I mean, they can have some, but they can't have a large quantity of people in their houses. So this is one way that the mother can see her grandkids and her great-grandkids. But I think after the pandemic, this drive-by request is going to be over with. So we need to also take that into consideration.
All right, Councilwoman Smallwood, thank you. Like I said, we can give it to the administration. They can sit down and talk to the police chief and figure out, how they will proceed with this. It's not that we're regulating it, but you still have to have policy and procedure, something where everybody won't be calling, the council's calling, this one's calling, that one's calling, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's got to be somewhere where it's called decency and order. So, wow, why are y'all making all that noise? It's somewhere along the line where, we have to have, there's a hierarchy in everything. I'm sorry, So, I'm in favor of just giving it back to the administration and letting them deal with the administration and Mr. Jewish talking with the police chief. And let's do an analysis and see how many of these we really get. And I do agree with Councilwoman Smallwood, whereas once the pandemic is over, this will probably not be an issue. But you're still dealing with city resources, and so we have to make a determination as to what's going to be done. Is there any more, Smallwood, can you, is there any more, let's see,
Madam President,
Councilman Herring?
I do think we need to decide on an age cutoff. I do think we need to do that, so that we can say we formally decide this is what we're going to offer to the people.
Well, I would like to see that all of that happen. Like I said, if once they do an analysis about how many people are calling and asking for that.
But my thing is, in the interim, if somebody calls that's 95 and they want to get it, so they're not going to get it because they're doing an analysis.
No, like I said, the analysis would entail people calling into City Hall and saying that we want to do a drive-by for our grandmother who is 95, and they put the an analysis includes, you know, what happened, when, where, why, how, and then they can come back to the council and say, you know, we got 10 people that were overnight, that were 90 and over that wanted to drive by. We got
Okay, well,
5 people that called in and didn't want it, or did want it, and
well,
they were like 19.
Okay, well, I would like to make a motion that we a motion or get a consensus that we would offer drive-bys for anybody that's 90 and above, because I mean, at least they have a timer. That's what the city manager is recommending, and let the council just confirm that okay, we're okay with that. And then if they come back with an analysis to say we need to change the age, we change the age. But right now we need to just let them know, okay, we're okay with this. So right now you're leaving it open to anybody who wants to do a drive-by, because there's no formal, we haven't given no formal guideline or a formal age cutoff on drive-by.
Okay, let's do the age consensus for 90 and above. Council Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Eason,
Pass.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Smallwood,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
No to 90 and above, but yes to drive-bys. Let the administration determine what it is.
yes to drive-bys, and no to 90 and above.
Any age, let the administration determine what it is.
Okay, yes to drive-bys.
They know my statement is that they know the resources. The chief can properly deploy or not do it based on their resources. So.
Okay. Councilwoman Wilson,
Yes, to 90 and above.
Councilwoman Ferguson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes to 90 and above.
Councilwoman Eason,
I think it needs to be open to other folks because you're still spending taxpayer money. And even if you have a resource that's using a police car, that's using gasoline, and even some folks, I'm sure, even though they spend their own money, they may ask for a reimbursement, which is still citizens' tax dollars. So I agree with doing a drive-by, but I think the criteria needs to be spelled out a little bit more. Actually, I would support Mr. Williams in letting the administration figure out what the criteria is. So I'm just going to pass.
you're gonna pass, okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have said yes to 90 and above, and I've had 2 that have agreed to the actual drive-by, and 2 that have agreed to let the administration decide on the guidelines based on the resources.
I agree that the administration should do the guidelines also, but as far as 90 and above, I don't have any issue with that.
Yeah, that's why I said, you said yes, right?
Yes. Okay, so Mr. George, you may sit down with the chief and y'all can go over this, and determine, when someone calls in the 2100 and asks, do this, please do an analysis so we can know what's going, how this is panning out. Okay. All right.
Council
And
President, excuse me, Council President, Council Ferguson is trying to get your attention.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
Yes. Did you not read that Mr. George had said 90?
Yes, I did read that. Must be a city resident 90 years or older.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add too that I also think that the criteria should be handled by the administration.
It's true.
Okay, and the last thing that was on the agenda was the shore scan proposal. I know that most of you council persons are getting this. Just what my strategy was here was that we would just all look over it. If someone had any questions, you could send back to me. I didn't want to say yes and not include the entire council in a decision, or no and not include the entire council with this. And that's why I presented the shore scan proposal. Councilwoman Eason.
When this first came up with shore scan, I know that a lot of the documents in the legislative department, Tony actually got a lot of those documents scanned along with some of the summer youth. We also got file cabinets, which is what they called for the finance department. So has the finance department used any of those file cabinets from shore scan? Because we actually paid extra money for those.
Mr. Bratton.
Coming right up. Yeah, we've been using the shore scan to scan in documents.
He
Madam
says that
President?
I'm sorry, he says that they have been using shore scan to scan in the documents. Councilman Herring.
So is this a contract to have them do the scanning versus us?
No, this is a new managed service that they had. We've done the scanning, but I think, yeah, it is now that they'll come in and do the scanning.
Or they can either come in and do it, or we can keep on doing it the way we're doing it now.
Right. We have a choice.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's Councilwoman Eason.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if the city is actually scanning the documents themselves, then I don't see why we would need to pay extra money for them to come in and scan.
And if the scanning is caught up, I think the legislative office is caught up. Am I correct, Council Clerk?
Yes, ma'am, we are caught up.
Okay, and Mr. Bratton, is the finance department caught up in their scanning?
We still have some more scanning to do, but we're working on it.
I'm sorry, whether or not you're looking at years, or because I know when the council clerk did her scans, they started off with the current fiscal year and then they worked backwards to actually get their scans up to date. So do you have a plan like that, Mr. Bratton, as far as how you're actually doing the scans?
Yeah, we probably got like maybe 2 months of scanning to put in, but we're doing it. We're pretty much up to date.
Okay. Then if the city is up to date in their scanning and we don't see that we need that type of service, then this proposal is a no.
Okay, but
Councilwoman Eason.
Yeah, just one quick question. Is Is that just for them to scan or is there a renewal? Because it may be a renewal. I don't remember off the top of my head what their, whether or not they were yearly or 3 years or 5 years. I don't know what their renewal schedule was. Because I know we initially got them when I was council president.
I will check this entire document for that question, and I will email you with the response.
Okay, yeah, because you don't want to like tell them no totally if this is part of their renewal, just to say, give us the basic of what we had already.
Mhm.
And then the extra, no, you don't want the extra, you still want what we have already as part of our contract.
All right, thank you for that information.
Okay, thank you.
All right, it is now 10:10. Longer meeting than I anticipated. I thank every one of you for your participation and concerns and care. Like I said, it is now 10:10 and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.